You should be doing your homework. I don't know what I'm doing.
Hey, Junior, I got something you can really sink your teeth into.
Calling all Dream Warriors. Think you're brave enough to face Freddy? Well, now you can put your nightmare knowledge to the test and win money. You can win $250 a day. Just pick up your phone and dial 1-900-860-4FRED. And you can challenge Freddy Krueger in the ultimate trivia game.
Hundreds of blood-curdling questions about all my films. Still need a few pointers? Well, listen up, lunch meat.
Call now and challenge Freddy in his trivia game to win cash.
Well, little piggy, I might not get you now, but I'll get you in A Nightmare on Elm Street 6.
$2 the first minute, $1 each additional minute. Callers under 18 get your parents' permission before you dial.
What a rush.
Just what you are.
Welcome to the Cinematic Void Podcast. Cinematic Void is a cult film series that hosts screenings in the Los Angeles area as well as virtually. I'm your host, Jim Branscombe, and joining me as always is...
Hey, what's going on? Nick Vance. You can find Cinematic Void on the World Wide Web at cinematicvoid.com, as well as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and all major podcast platforms. If you want to support The Void, consider joining our Patreon. What's up, Jim? How's it going, dude?
What's up? Hey, we are trying our new podcast schedule where we're going to record every week. Doesn't mean an episode.
Don't make promises to these people, dude. Don't go out of your way to make some fucking...
Yeah, you're right.
Some fucking dramatic statement about how you're going to record every week.
Yeah, you're right. Cause
look,
we both know this is going to go fucking south at some point, but we are attempting to have a regular recording schedule that will probably blow up in our faces at some point. But for now, we're trying something new, trying to get in the swing of things, trying to get that content out or whatever. What is it? Content?
I mean, we actually watched a fucking movie today together.
We did, and
so we're back on track.
Yeah, I mean that's part of the reason why we're doing it is because, as we've mentioned on previous podcast episodes, since we did that Argento episode where we actually sat down and watched the movies together and discussed it and took notes, I think it's better. So instead of just like, here, you independently watch this, I'll independently watch a film, and then we'll come together. It works better. So we are watching movies and then recording. And we're going to try that out because I think this is the wave of the future, as they say. But
I don't think anyone's ever thought of this before.
I'm sure they have, but maybe not. It's kind of hard. I don't know. How do people record? I've been on other podcasts where like we record and then they turn that fucker out the next day, which we don't do.
Nah, man. I wouldn't. I won't.
No, I feel like we record.
I'm gonna marinate about it a little bit. I'm gonna sit around thinking about how much I hate my fucking voice for about a week before I start editing this motherfucker.
Yeah, I think there's something to say for both approaches. I think we just both equally think about maybe recording, sitting on it, thinking about it, then listening with fresh ears.
Look, I'm real busy. Y'all motherfuckers are just waiting around to edit podcasts in your life. I'm sorry. I don't have that kind of time.
Yeah, and plus we're doing a double edit. Nick edits first, then I go through and do another pass, and then I shove in like the commercials and all the dumb shit. So,
and bro, what else you do? What other secrets you gonna give away? What other
is it secrets?
Or is it fucking let them know the sauce?
Is there really any sauce? Like, anyone could fucking do this.
And then
anyone could fucking do this. It's basic fucking editing. It's editing 101. Fine.
Don't tell them. Don't let them know. Don't let them know we went through it twice.
Well, I think that's a seal of quality. Like, I'm trying to think of a company. It's like, we check everything twice. Like, that's... It's like
Santa Claus.
Santa Claus.
Santa Claus checks his list twice or something.
Yeah, we're the motherfucking Santa Clauses of podcast. We checking our list, checking it twice.
All this out.
No, you're not. Just leave this shit in. See, and we also we go on dumb riffs and we leave it in because I don't know, because we're entertaining ourselves. But I was going to say, last podcast, I'd gone to Baltimore and mentioned you were going to Baltimore. And guess what? You went to Baltimore, you're back. How was your trip?
It was great. I used a bidet for the first time. This is the first thing I mentioned. It was cool. But that's a highlight.
Who the fuck do you know that has a bidet in Baltimore?
I mean, do I need to call him out?
Yes.
It was Angie and Matt.
Wow.
They had a bidet. They were very happy about it. Very happy about sharing the wealth.
How does it?
And I took 2 giant shits at their house. And the bathroom is like way far away. It was like way far away upstairs in the attic. There's like 4 floors of this house. It's real sick. Shout out to those guys. But so the first time I chickened out on the bidet.
What?
And I just what, you know, I mean, I actually did just like, I wiped to completion before I used it. So I just went in like, not to really, just, you know, get the remnants.
Yeah.
I'm like cutting all this shit out too.
No, man. Because I've never met anyone's actually admitted to using a bidet.
Really? No,
Yeah.
Lots of people I know are like adamant about it. Oh, I would never. What do you shit without a bidet? What do you walk around with a fucking shit ass all day, dude? What are you doing, dude?
I live in an old apartment in fucking LA.
You could have a bidet, bro. I pet sit in a billion houses in LA, and from the poorest people, the poorest people to the richest people, like they're all fucking rocking the bidet. And I just, yeah, you're right. I'm a savage, dude. I'm walking around every day with a fucking dirty asshole.
I feel so out of touch.
Yeah, man.
I don't know. So
It's cheap, dude. It's just an attachment.
it's just an attachment.
You could figure it out. You could even you could hook it up.
Even
I'm just meaning like I don't really see you as like a plumber kind of guy.
Well, I'm not.
You ever done some plumbing?
The most I've done plumbing wise has been like we're gonna have a lot of popping peas in this fucking.
There was this one particular property where I was plumbing.
I walked into the bathroom with my papoose as I was plumbing away on this phallic. That phallic's not. Never mind. Anyway, the most I've ever done is like replaced a shower head.
Right on.
And used plumbing tape so I didn't get fucking water spraying all over the goddamn
There you
bathroom. That's the extent of my plumbing skills.
For sure. You could probably hook up the old bidet.
All right.
I don't know. But look, this water was really cold when it squirted on my butthole. And I definitely went like this. Like, it was a podcast, but I went like this.
Well, you did the shocked O face?
The O face, dude. Yeah, man, that shit fucking straight up shocked me.
You know, as much as we're talking about Baltimore, the thing that I never expected was to just lead off with the bidet.
Yeah, I didn't mean to go 5 minutes bidet, but yeah, I had a sick time. I went to see Liars Academy and Dosser and Fairweather at the Metro, and just saw a lot of folks there. Saw a lot of old friends. Just ran into a lot of people, and I just knew it would be a nice place to just really run into a bunch of people and say hi, rather than trying to get a bunch of people together. It's just an easy meetup spot. So it worked out really well. Hung out with a lot of key characters. Yeah, man, good time. Trying to think of anything real.
You saw
crazy.
Tony?
Yeah, I went by Celebrated Summer and did snag like a stack of records. Trying not to, but definitely grabbed some Blank singles. I think we talked about that on the last podcast. Blank is the singer of Liars Academy, one of the bands I went to see. I don't know, not particularly exciting otherwise. Just did a little shopping, bopped around town, and the homie lent me his pickup truck. Hung out with my sister a bunch.
That's cool.
It's a nice, quick little 3-day trip, 4-day trip, 7-day trip.
When was the last time you went?
3-hour tour.
Yeah,
It was 3 days. It was 3 days.
When was the last time you went to Baltimore before that?
Man, I want to say, when did the pandemic happen?
You're just traveling.
Yeah, when did that happen?
2020? Yeah, it was 2020.
I think I went in 2021.
Okay, so you went right
October 2021, something like that.
So
September, October.
when things were kind of
Well, it felt like it was reopening, then it didn't. You know?
Yeah, the end of 2021 was a little weird going into 2022.
Yeah.
There was like up and downs, kind of shit.
Yeah, I think that was the last time I did any real traveling. So
Unlike my ass, it's been like
yeah, just
traveling,
just no care.
no care, just just hopping on a plane.
Yeah, it was really packed. It was really annoying.
Well,
All the flights were really annoying.
Would you? I guess it don't matter. We're not sponsored by airlines, but unless you want to start sponsoring us, who'd you fly with?
Well, I had told myself that I was never gonna fly with Sprint. I was called
Sprint.
I always say Sprint because my phone is Sprint. I'm poor. And Spirit, using Spirit because I'm poor. I flew Spirit even though I had said that I had never wanted to again. But when I was just booking my flight, there was a couple of things where it was like most of my flights were Delta, and then like one of them was Spirit. You know. Did I say Sprint again 10 times?
You said Spirit that last time.
Okay. But yeah, so like half of these flights were Spirit and half of them were Delta. So I was like, I got to watch. Well, I'll probably talk about it and rewatch. Listen, but I got to see After Sun on the plane, which is like one of the newer A24 films. This kind of art film that I've been wanting to see, that we'd screened at the Cinematheque, and even Vintage screened it for like a week. And I just never got a chance to catch it. So watch it on the plane. Perfect way to see it.
Is it a plane edit, or how do they do movies on planes now?
Just a little fucking.
Well, no, I know it's in there, but do they cut out offending materials?
Oh, I hadn't really. I mean, I don't know. This is a pretty like subdued, quiet art film. Like who knows? There's nothing really particularly egregious in this film.
It's not Emmanuel America.
No, it's not. I don't know. Like the guy in this. The guy like kind of like cat-a-corner to me, so I could see like between the seats, and I could see like the guy kind of like up front of me and to the left, like watched Everything Everywhere All at Once, and then watched a Marvel movie. I'm just like silently judging people watching films on the plane. Just like, really, you would watch that? Come on, bro.
I think when I was flying to Baltimore, my last trip, some dude was watching Scarface on the plane.
Nice.
And he had it on his laptop. I was like,
hell yeah.
Go for it. I mean, it's a 3-hour movie. That's going to take care of like 3/5 of your fucking flight time.
Yep, nice chunk.
But he kept turning it off and then trying to watch other stuff, and then he put it back on. And it's just like, I don't know, man. Maybe he never seen Scarface before. He was trying, or he realized what was going to happen in Scarface. Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
who knows? Speaking of bands and seeing stuff, we actually just last night, as we're recording this, we went and saw Cursive.
Yeah, they were great. They were performing Domestica, which is their second or third full length, I suppose. But that was kind of their breakout. Their initial breakout. Then they've had bigger records since, but that was always the one for me.
Yeah. Oh, and they played it front to back, and they actually did it without really stopping. Like they came out and
they raged. They did it like Ramones style. They didn't stop between the songs. They were just, yeah.
It was pretty sick because like they started off with like a 3-song like I guess sampler of like a bunch of stuff from Ugly Organ and some of the later stuff, and then they took a pause. Tim Casher, who you can actually hear on the Cinematic Void podcast. I don't have the episode number, but look up I think it's Werewolf 88 or something like that.
81.
81. Or sorry, 8. Thank you. 81. 88.
Was that Teen Wolf 2?
Teen Wolf 2. Man, fuck 88 was the pinnacle year for hardcore and hip hop, so that's gonna. Yeah. But it was 81. So Tim came and talked about American Werewolf in London, Howling, Wolfen, and whatever that other one was, the Larry Cohen one. I guess it's like Full Moon High. Yeah, that's what it was. So you want to check that out. But they were fucking great, and like when they got to that Domestica portion, it just fucking ripped.
Oh yeah, they slayed.
Yeah, it was awesome. Although I realized I'm fucking old. Standing shows gets to me.
My feet were screaming. My doggies were barking, bro.
Man, my back was hurting. And it's just like, fuck. I actually went home and had to put an icy hot patch on my back after this show. I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah.
And I don't even think I have a bad back, but it's just like, it was just, I don't know, man. I was screaming. But, it's cool. Also realize, nothing makes you feel short until you go to a show.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you get the tallest motherfuckers making it a point to stand in front of you.
Yeah, they love to stand directly in front of me.
Yeah, and it's just like, but Cursive fucking ripped. So, yeah, shout out to Tim. A couple other things have been going on. We're in May, so it's the Mayhem or Mayhem, depending on what your preference is. Are you hammy or you not? Moon's over my hammy.
Yeah.
Just screening.
Like, man, look, I'm sorry. It wasn't funny. Look, I get it.
Someone on Twitter said, "Don't you mean mayhem?"
Hell yeah. Did they really?
Yeah.
Yeah, respect. Hell yes. Let's go. Fuck yeah. You know what? Fuck it. I stand behind it. I stand behind my dumbass joke.
Yeah, so stand behind it because someone took to it. But, screened The Mechanic this past Monday and, did about 70 people, which is, not a sellout, about half the room, but And I kind of expected going in not to have a big crowd for Charlie Bronson. I think we said that on the podcast, but like, movie fucking slayed with a crowd.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the best Charles Bronson movies ever made. Michael Winter directed it, you know, Jan Michael Vincent. It's fucking incredible. And like, people pretty much almost a standing O for the ending, because it has one of the best endings of not just a Bronson movie, but like just a film ending. So I know you probably haven't got a chance to check it out yet, but make sure you do. It's definitely art house Bronson.
Cool.
Other things we can talk about, just a little bit of stuff. I think I mentioned last podcast that I was selling my comic book collection. I was waiting to get a quote back. Got one back. It's kind of weird that like your childhood, you know, box, like 3 giant boxes of comic books and like 2 shoe boxes of random issues that I don't even know where the fuck they came. I think someone gifted me some as a kid. They're like, yeah, collection's worth $400. We'll offer you $250 for it. And it's just like, there was a second where I'm like, it can't be right. It can't be. And then I remembered that most of my shit was bought in the 90s, which was like the gluttonous era of comic books, like huge printings, all this stuff. Like, it was just overblown. And it's like, $250 is better than nothing, so I took the $250. Rest in peace, comic book collection. I guess not rest in peace. I'd rather it gets sold and people ends up at a good home. So
Just like every single other kid my age, I bought the Death of Superman and multiple copies of it with like the shrink wrap, you know, with the white shrink wrap with the real sick. But it's just like everybody bought it, so it's not going to be worth anything.
No, definitely one of those was in there, and it's just like, it ain't.
Sick as hell, though.
Sick as hell. You know, the comic book, like, gimmick era was...
Yeah, that was a good one. That was, like, exciting.
It was exciting, but, like, you know, it's like... I feel like comic books and baseball cards just fell off collectible-wise. I mean, I know there's shit that's worth, like, tens of thousands of dollars still out there, but it's like... I was not of the age to get an Amazing Spider-Man 1 or any of that shit, so...
Once I graduated from... I kind of graduated from baseball cards to comic books, and then just to music exclusively. And then just later on, you know, the comic books seeped back in when they started becoming like Vertigo, and it started becoming like more in depth, you know, and it kind of went hand in hand with the music.
Yeah.
But you know, yeah, just the baseball cards. It's like, did the baseball cards die off, or did I just, you know, my interests change and I just got older, you know?
I mean, I just, do kids even collect them anymore?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because there's
Fleer.
shit. Yeah, well, there's shit like, you know, Pokemon cards and stuff like that. So, I don't know.
Do Pokemon cards come with a piece of gum? Like, do other?
I think they discontinue that gum. I've seen, like, at various, like, convention stuff, people will bust out original, like, fucking, you know, collectible cards, like, from movies and stuff, and they all got that shitty fucking gum. Which I'm pretty sure is just like a fucking pink piece of asbestos or something.
Right, pink piece of chalk.
Yeah, it's fucking, yeah.
You know what's still sick, and maybe it's just like showing my age, but like when I even just see the new ones, like I love like Garbage Pail Kids. Like that shit is always just sick to me, but I wonder if like a young kid sees that and is just like, the fuck is this?
You know what? Now that I think about it, when I was going through my parents' stuff, I did not find my Garbage Pail Kids.
Oh no shit.
So they might be still out there.
Oh yeah,
they might somewhere hidden in my parents' house.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll probably be going back sometime later this year. So
you hit the basement yet, or just your room?
I cleared out I went in the basement. And I got rid of a bunch of shit in my basement. So
yeah,
or my parents' basement, I should say. But yeah,
you got to find those InSpite practice tapes.
I think all those tapes were like tape rotted.
Yeah,
like I think I found them and they were just in such bad shape.
Damn.
They were like high 8s or something, and they're like moisture and stuff. Like they weren't gonna play. Kind of sucks because like there might have been some hidden gems on there. We were talking about this a little off camera. Like, you know, it's like I would like to do another InSpite record. No one will fucking care because no one cared back then. But me personally, wouldn't mind doing one. Just throwing it out there.
One day, Jim, you'll get your record.
One day I'll get my record. Will it be the Mirror Crip record? Probably not.
Nope.
Nope.
What's next on the docket?
Oh yeah, just moving on from that. Yeah, a couple other things. Something I guess I don't know if this came up right as we recorded. Nah, I think this was like maybe the week after we recorded because. So last time we were recording, like I got hit up on social media from someone who wanted to collaborate on some kind of screening, and they sent me this list of things. And to be honest,
A list of demands.
kinda, it was like, hey, this is what I want to do. Can you help? And it was just like, it was one of those things that wasn't really what I did, and it just implied that I would have to do the harder work to make something happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I did tell the person that, like, we can talk, but, like, honestly, I'm probably not the person for it. And that wasn't being a dick. And then when they wanted to finally talk, like, we, had shit going on, and then the weekend hit, and I'm like, I try to not do business shit on the weekend.
Yeah.
Like void work or whatever. I try to actually take weekends off for my own mental health. Because there was a long time where I just, like, 7 days a week, always doing something. So this person, I guess because I didn't set up a call, but they never ever gave a phone number for me to actually call them or anything like that. Like, sent this really snarky thing. It's like, you didn't help me because of this and that. And it was just like, it was one of those things that was just a very pointed thing that was based on their own, like, insecurities and assumptions. And it just, like, it was like someone dumping, like, some shittiness onto me.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, it fucking put me in a shit mood.
Yeah.
Like, literally, just like, I just, didn't feel, it was like, I just felt like shit. And I've just come to this conclusion now that, there's an episode, I think it's episode 50, is like, so you want to be a film programmer, where we go into depth about, like, building relationships, stuff and like that. And it's just like, I think I'm getting to the point, it's like, I don't mind helping people, but at the same time, it's just like, kind of respect that, like, my time is value, and, like, I can't always help people. And, like, if you're going to come at me for me to use everything, all my resources, and I get nothing in return, I'm not going to help. And I'm not saying that to be a dick. I feel like a dick saying it, but it's just me just saying, like, a boundary wise. It's just like, I look for partnerships and relationships and stuff like that, working with people where it's mutual. It's helping both parties. And there's a lot of people that come at you wanting to do one-sided stuff. Like, I'll have independent filmmakers hit me up on DMs, be like, hey, can you show my new film? And it's like, what do I gain from it?
Yeah.
And I know that seems kind of harsh, but it's just like, you're asking me to give up a slot for something that I'm probably not going to be into. Like, I've shown newer stuff occasionally, but, like, either it's because I'm working with a label that I already have a relationship with, or it's someone I personally know and already have a relationship with. And I've joked over the years, like, there's a record label that we both loved called Slapham Records that used to have, like, a frequently asked questions thing, which was a bit of a smart ass thing. It's like, hey, can I send you a demo? No. Like, stuff like that. It's like, can I get this limited record? No. Like, it was just, every answer was no, except for the last one, which was like, are you a wine snob? Yes, or something like that.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking about doing that. And I think I'm just going to, like, next time someone, like, tries to hit me up for stuff, I'm just going to be like, send it to info@cinematicvoid.com, and if we're interested, we'll hit you back.
Yeah. Speaking of just kind of showing people stuff and showing the people that you love and putting your personality out there, blah, blah, blah. Let's talk a little about your new fucking zine.
Oh, yeah. So, there's been a Cinematic Void zine. It's the third issue just came out end of April. And there's going to be a fourth one that's going to come out. It's going to be a Camp Void issue. But I've actually started putting together kind of a more personal zine. It's called Personal Demons. Yes, more of those poppin' P's in there. But it's kind of a throwback to a zine I did back in 2009. I don't know if you remember. It's called Chalk Outline.
Yep.
So I got into, like, collage art. And, like, if you go to my personal Instagram page, you'll see a bunch of the collages I've been making. I hadn't really made collages, like, on the regular in, like, years, and, like, since I've been, like, things I've been going through, it's just like, it's been nice to refine that creative outlet.
Right on. Those new collages look sick, man.
Yeah, it's just like, I got a bunch of, like, film poster books and stuff like that, and I'm just cutting them up and building them together. Have no idea what I'm going to do with them. My girlfriend wants me to have, like, some kind of art show. I'm like, I don't even know how to do that.
Yeah.
She's like, I will help you. And it's like, okay. Like art gallery stuff is, like, so...
It's sick because then you start emailing people and be like, hey, I'm trying to put an art show.
Yeah,
And they're just like, motherfucker, why'd you even email me, dude?
Exactly. That's the part of it. It's like I feel like I'm stepping into a world that's not mine, and I just feel like, am I going to talk to my counterpart on there? It's like, hey, dude, fucking put my art in your gallery.
And you're like, you didn't even respond to me.
Yeah. It's a complete fucking flip, isn't it?
It is, dude. But dive in.
Yeah, which is why I haven't actually done it, because that's the other thing. I don't like bothering people.
Yeah.
And I feel like, hey, would you be interested? I don't even know how to go about it. So she's had gallery shows, and like, you know, she's a mixed media artist, so she's done that shit. So it's a world I don't quite I'm sure it's similar.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm just kind of nervous about it, because I'm just like kind of just getting stuff out. But this zine, which I don't know, it's done. I actually went and did a final proof because I found a bunch of fucking dumb typos. I did like a proof like PDF of it, and I was going through it, and like, I was like, shit, I need to learn how to proofread. I've been saying that for like 30 years at this point, but I think I got all the little mistypes and that kind of stuff. But, you know, it's going to be collage artwork, and it's going to be essays. Like, some of it's from journals I've been writing. You know, it's just personal stuff, and I'm going to also repurpose bits from, like, those chalk outline issues. Like, the stuff I really like that I'm just going to kind of bump up. Like, the infamous Art Garfunkel Saves Halloween in Salem story. Because that, if you listen to that In Salem podcast episode, which I think might be 40? Maybe 40? Yeah, I think it's 40. Somewhere around there. So it was in the, I guess was it year 2? Yeah, it was year 2 of podcast. That one dropped. I tell that story. So, and it was, you know, something I've told a lot and still haven't been sued by Art Garfunkel, thankfully. Eventually I will. Eventually Art's going to get mad at me, or it was really him. He'd be like, oh, thank you for acknowledging me that I helped you save and, you know, got you where you needed to go. But you can listen to that story, but it's also going to be included in that first issue. So I'm trying to figure out when to drop it, because it's like, I know June's going to be pre-orders for the 4th issue of the Cinematic Void zine. So it's like trying to figure out where to place it for pre-order time. This one will probably take a little bit longer. It's actually a bigger zine than those Void issues. Like, it's pretty dense. It's got collage artwork. It's got 3 kind of essays in there. So I'm nervous but proud of it.
Right on. So
it's been a lot of work. I guess a couple other things before we get to the premise here. I love these, like, I really don't like talking about film anymore.
Right.
We're going to eventually we're just going to okey doke people and like, you think we're going to talk about film?
No, you're just going to get to know me.
Yeah, just going to get to know us and all of our fucking weird quirks. But to talk about what we're actually talking about, we've been hinting at this episode for like, it feels like goddamn like a year now. I think we talked about it last year and we just never got to it. So we're finally getting to what I've called Freddy's knockoffs, which is we're going to talk about a few movies, at least 2, maybe 3, kind of deciding if we're going to do that 3rd one or not. We'll see how we feel. We'll see how we're vibing on this. But, you know, these are movies that are inspired by Freddy Krueger in A Nightmare on Elm Street in some ways, I think, with some other inspirations in there. And I don't know, I thought this was a really kind of weird idea to talk about, because like, I don't think we're ever going to sit down and like discuss in depth Nightmare on Elm Street movies. I mean, there's plenty of podcasts that probably already covered that series front to back and backwards and all that. But what we're going to talk about is movies that were inspired by it and cashing in. And we'll talk about how close they were, how far away they were, what they brought to the table that was different, all that stuff. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we return, get your claws ready, bitch. Or, never mind, that's stupid. Never mind. Why am I trying to do a fucking bad Robert Englund at this point? Because I think I can, and then I just did and I can't. And we're going to leave it in just as a reminder that I shouldn't do impersonations. I can do some, but Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger's not one. But we're going to take a break here, and we'll be back on the Cinematic Void podcast.
You thought you killed me. Freddy Krueger will never die. I'm closer than you think.
just a phone call away. Dial this number and prepare to be scared. And I'm always around, everywhere. So dial this number now if you dare. Join the Freddy Fan Club. Freddy Krueger has a special message just for you. $1.50 for the first minute, 35 cents each additional minute.
Welcome back. We are talking about Freddy's knockoffs, aka movies that are inspired by Freddy Krueger and the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. And up first, we're going to talk about a movie from Mexico. It's quite, I'd say, fun. Would you say, Nick?
It's pretty fun.
It's fun. It's from 1987. It's directed by Ruben Galando Jr. It is called Don't Panic. Ruben Galando also made such bangers. I'm going to say banger once because apparently it's been pointed out to me that in the previous episode I said banger in a series of, what was it, banger, banger, banger or something?
I believe you said that the Wang Chung To Live and Die in L.A. soundtrack was a banger, 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 banger. Maybe it was not 8 times, but
it was a lot of bangers, and I didn't realize I said it. And then Nikolai pointed out and told you, and now I'm self-conscious about ever saying another fucking word out of my mouth. Thanks, Nikolai.
Thanks, Nikolai.
You know, back to my mortal enemy again.
Hell yeah.
You know, I'd forgiven the 2.5-star review of fucking Carnival of Souls, but it's on again. And I think we sat here and we watched Hard Boiled together.
Had a moment.
Had a moment. That moment's gone.
Had a moment.
Anyway, so whatever. He's made some other great films, including Cemetery of Terror.
Nikolai?
No, the guy directed Don't Panic.
Okay.
Nikolai apparently has only had 2 birthday parties in his life.
And one of them, apparently Chow Yun Fat was at his birthday party for some reason. That makes no sense, but trust me, it's a great story.
It's a great story. You know,
he wasn't there, by the way.
It was not Chow Yun Fat in any stretch of that. Anyway, so Ruben Galando Jr. made Cemetery Terror and Grave Robbers as well, which are both fun, and all 3 of those movies have been put out on Blu-ray by Vinegar Syndrome. I don't think the slipcover editions are there, but if you actually just like movies and don't need cardboard, pick them up. Or I think they might be on Shudder too, or one of those other streaming platforms if you want to check them out. Besides that, the movie stars John Michael Bischoff, who, the only reason I'm mentioning this guy is because he's the star of the movie, and he also wrote the absolute, I'm going to use that word again, banger of a fucking theme song for the movie called Don't Panic. Like, I think he programmed the fucking beat and sang over it and all that, and that song's really good, but we'll get to the rest of the soundtrack here. For those of you who have not seen this movie that may or may not be inspired by A Nightmare on Elm Street, basically on his 17th birthday. It really 17th birthday?
Man.
We got more questions here. Michael is given a present of a Ouija board by Tony, his best friend. At the session, Tony uses a medium known to him as Virgil. Unwittingly unlocks the evil forces of the board. Soon, there's a wave of violent killings, and the chief suspect appears to be Michael. He has been the witness to killings via premonitions and out-of-body experiences, or red contact lenses. And is Michael the killer? Can he prove he's innocent, or is someone else possessed by the evil spirit? If you want to kind of hit home the Freddy portion of this, one of the taglines was, "Forget Freddy and Jason, Virgil's the newest nightmare in town." We had 2 differing opinions on the name Virgil. What was the first thing when you heard Virgil?
I think of Virgil like $1 Million Man's homie.
Oh, his valet, and then eventual Virgil became a wrestler on his own, part of the NWO. See, mine was more current.
Like valet. I mean, I guess that is what they called him. He was like his manager. He would hand him some $100 bills and stuff in people's mouth at the end of the match. You know,
it's kind of weird.
Virgil was always jacked. He wasn't really a wrestler. He was kind of a wrestler. Like, sometimes he would hop in the ring and fuck you up.
Yeah.
You know, they like play dirty that way when $1 Million Man was the bad guy. I don't know. Virgil had his strengths.
Yeah, the reason why I don't... Was he his manager? Because he wasn't really, giving...
He kind of did like the Mr. Fuji kind of... he played... Isn't manager, you called him valet, and I think that's how they worded it, but it's the same... It serves the same function that even the managers did. It's a outside antagonist that can be there during the match. It's
because not everyone had a manager.
You know,
but
I mean, you know, every one of these wrestlers probably had a literal manager, but it's not that. It's not Mr. Fuji.
No.
You know,
I guess when I think more wrestling manager, I think Bobby the Brain Heenan or Jimmy Hart or like,
sure.
you know.
But also those guys were just like crazy mouthpieces, and they weren't actually their managers. It's just it's cool. It's just showmanship. I love it. That era of wrestling that we're talking about, goddamn man, we could do a wrestling podcast. Let's not do that.
Let's not. There's wrestling podcasts, but every so often
there's movie podcasts too. I don't listen to them.
I don't listen to them. I only listen to fucking hip hop podcasts at this point.
I listen to comedy podcasts.
So, you know, I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of, well, I know there's plenty of film podcasts out there. And if you want to hear about film, probably should listen to them because we're going to segue and talk about wrestling and every other fucking thing but movies. But I guess since we're attempting to talk about movies, we should talk about movies. Anyway, so when Virgil came up, the first thing I thought of because of Griselda and the fashion designer Virgil Abloh was, you know, I kept thinking,
Brick on my brick. That's sick.
yeah. But like, I can understand, like, maybe if we saw this movie and that didn't exist, I would go on to Virgil.
Yeah. I've never met a person in my life named Virgil. The only Virgil I ever really had any, you know, that I ever knew of was just from $1 Million Man.
Yeah.
So there you go.
And
then of course the designer who did the terrible Pop Smoke cover.
yeah, I mean,
did he fix it or did someone else fix it after he died?
Someone else ended up doing the cover and it was just as atrocious as.
Honestly, real talk, Pop Smoke sucked, and that cover art like fit the record. Whatever, dude, that shit sucks. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm not a
rest in peace or whatever, but like that shit is garbage.
Yeah, rest in peace to both him and Virgil, but like, yeah, I wasn't a Pop Smoke fan. I tried. I was like, maybe I should give it a spin. And it's just like, it ain't me.
I don't get it.
Yeah, I've found that in a lot of hip hop stuff, especially like when I'm watching those hip hop documentaries. They start talking about like newer cats or whatever, but it's just like, I'm definitely stuck in an era. If you sound like you came from the grimy 90s in New York, gonna listen to it.
Yep.
If you sound like something modern, not for me. And that's just a personal preference. Anyway, getting back to this movie here. So, while it definitely has a Nightmare on Elm Street vibe to it, I think it's more equally split between Elm Street, Evil Dead, and the Michael Jackson Thriller music video.
Yeah.
Actually, you pointed out Thriller.
It's just that makeup in particular, I think. But you know, when you're doing Evil Dead, right? It's demons.
Well,
you know, it's like
there's also the dagger.
The dagger thing, yeah, for sure. So it's like some old, you know, it's supposed to be like some old demon that came through fucking time. Like, what the hell? You know what I mean? Like, where do you come up with a sword like that?
Yeah, clearly there's influences that are very transparent that are just.
But the Nightmare on Elm Street stuff is pretty heavy-handed, I think. You know, there's that classroom scene.
Oh yeah, there's that one. The ending in the boiler, or I guess, is it a boiler room or is it like a? I don't know what it is.
It's like a
substation or some shit.
Yeah.
But there's a few things, and we'll hit them up. But yeah, definitely that classroom scene where like he's having that little bit where the teacher just starts talking to him like, this person's the next to die, and then like the previous victims in the classroom just bleeding all over the fucking floor.
Yeah. They kind of have those like almost visions where it's like the bad guys talk to them through other people. It's not a possession so much because they're the only one that can see it.
Yeah.
You know.
So there's a lot going on, and maybe too much going on.
Yeah,
and
it's definitely a kitchen sink kind of a movie, but it's a lot of fun, and a lot of the fun of it to me, I think, resides in like just the era that it was made, and the things that it's aping from its own era.
Yeah,
you know, the you know, it's not a throwback, but it's just. All just the 80s, you know, just crazy clothes and style. It's fucking awesome. And this is my second time seeing it, but the first time I watched it, it gave me kind of a wave of nostalgia. And again, it's my first watch.
Yeah.
And it just really made me just think back to my childhood. You know, they're all wearing like white Reeboks.
Oh yeah,
you know,
there's some fucking crazy fits in this movie. Like the first thing that dude Michael's wearing, it's like I don't even know what the fucking coat, like it's like a windbreaker cardigan. I didn't know they made such things.
It's like a collared, one of those like collared, like bulky long sleeve shirts that are multiple colors that like, I guess even like maybe Tommy Hilfiger was making things that kind of
Yeah,
look like this in the 90s, but this is, way before that.
Yeah, because there was that, and then there was the fucking overcoat.
It was like a cardigan, but like made out of like, sweat material rather than
It was like
a sweater.
Yeah, it was a cardigan sweater windbreaker because there was a fucking
Like
collar on
it's
it.
like a sweatshirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck that was.
No, they like to have a lot of things with like a collar underneath something else. That was the collar was from the initial.
Oh, it was from the initial shirt.
his,
Okay.
like, yeah. And then
I
it
was
was just like a white cardigan, but not a sweater made out of like sweatshirt. I don't know what you call that. Like just a heavy.
It's like it's just a sweater.
Jogger.
Is that what it's
Jogger
called?
material, as you'd call it in the. As the youngins may call it.
Man, maybe it's the job. I don't know. And this is coming up the other thing because, like, dude, I think we came up with this guy's look. He was like somewhere between Kirk Cameron, William Catt, and Willie Ames.
Yeah, definitely all three.
Yeah, just because, like, and I guess some of the music, and you pointed out, like, sounded like the theme to the greatest American hero at some point, which, William Catt.
It's one of the greatest songs of all time, really,
It's a
Believe it
banger.
or not, I'm walking on air, dude.
That's,
So you were talking about the Don't Panic song,
yeah.
and how it's a banger.
Yeah.
I might suggest it's mid. I think it's mid.
You think it's mid?
I think it's mid. I think the rest of it is dog shit.
Oh,
And it maybe elevates the theme.
You know what? I think that's a fair assessment. In the history of 80s horror, like soundtrack songs that like, say the title of the movie or a rap song or whatever.
I mean, I do love that. I do love it. I mean, you're onto something. I mean, it's just it does hit those.
It's not Baby Lied. Like
It's definitely not.
No, Baby Lied I think is like, and people will fucking argue and like Dream. No, fucking Baby Lied is the top tier of fucking songs in horror movies.
Like I'm a sucker for when like a band says their band name in a song.
Yeah,
That's classic. So when you say the title of the film in the song, like I love the titular line in the dialogue in the film.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think they said "Don't panic" once in this film.
No, but it's just in the song. It reminds me, we just watched Hard Boiled, and I forgot that they actually say like some hard boiled cop, and it's just
Hell
like,
yeah. I'm the guy that said the titular line in Star Wars.
yeah, fucking Star. This is some Star Wars here, or whatever.
Sure, I'm sick of all these Star Wars.
Yeah. So before we finish about the fit, let's talk about the soundtrack because that is one of the worst fucking synth scores I ever heard.
Yeah.
Like it is. There was always.
like, don't you have? I mean, isn't all synth stuff on like grids? Like it sounds so fucked up and off time.
No, I mean, shit is like that. It's somewhere between dark wave and synth funk, and whoever programmed the drums, just like the timing's way off. Like
The mix is just all fucked up. Yeah, the drum hits, like the snare hits and shit, and the claps sound all fucked.
I mean, my note was not great, but dog shit is probably more accurate for the
It's
soundtrack.
dog shit. And then once they hit the Don't Panic, it's like, all right, well, yeah.
And those drums are a little fucked up. Like, but
They're fucked too. Yeah, it's the
but-
claps.
Yeah, but I think it's closer to like maybe like I don't want. It's not even a real comparison,
It's kind of
but
charming, you know.
it's kind of it doesn't really remind me, but it also makes me think back to those early Wu-Tang recordings where RZA's stuff was like slightly off and out of time, but like it kind of worked, and for this it kind of worked.
Yeah.
Am I saying the Don't Panic theme is as good as Cream or fucking Method Man or like
Right.
the Mystery of Chess Boxing? Absolutely fucking not. But
You know,
like
it adds a layer of humanity to it, you know. But
Yeah.
but it's fucked up.
yeah, it's but like the worst fucking song in here, and there's a goddamn montage to it. It's like when they're like where he's like, "Hey, you want to go get breakfast for me?" Because I guess I don't know this, but when you go to school, I guess in Mexico, if you show up late, you're not getting in.
Oh, that's how it's going down.
But that's what they imply in the movies. Like, oh, you showed up late, can't show up. It's like at one point, it's like you're gonna turn away a fucking student. You write them up for being late and you let them go to class. Instead, you're like, well, guess we're going for breakfast. And they don't even go for breakfast. They go rent a bike. And they're driving around biking around a lake. They buy balloons. Like, that fucking song is atrocious. And like that drum programming is like. Speaking of RZA, I saw a clip on like someone. I think he was fucking around. Like he was being interviewed by someone, like showing him how he constructs a beat. I don't know if you ever seen this thing, but it was a real. It's like I think he's fucking around, because I hope to God he's not being serious. But like the shit's so off. It's like, then I had this drum, and it's like, it's the most fucking train wreck. It might as well be the soundtrack to this movie.
Alright, so then to kind of really make it like have that modern sound, I'm just gonna add a little hi-hat, a normal like hi-hat from modern music, shall we say. So we got something like that. Alright, that's cool. So something like that.
This fucking montage song, like there's fucking like tom hits and all kind. It's just it's a fucking mess.
Yeah.
But somehow it kind of works with like the fucking ridiculousness that's on stage or on the screen.
Yeah.
And then it caps with them eating ice cream. Like at no point do they go eat breakfast. They're fucking eating strawberry ice cream in one of the like weirdest, grossest fucking things I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
yeah, this movie is it. Yeah, you're right. It is kind of but it's not like over the top where it feels like, oh, we're trying to be over the top. It just fucking is. And it's just kind of insane.
I mean, you were writing other notes about like other kind of 80s movie hits that were like building up the sequence. I think you said Rad because of the bike shit. And
dude, yeah, he's doing like little skids on his bike and shit. Like the way that he cruises up to school or whatever. He's like being all slick, but then but it's all fucked up too. Like he falls over. Like they kind of make a joke out of it. Like they're clearly ripping off Rad and or like BMX Bandits or something, But then it's just like, oh, he's not actually good. I mean, it's also a trope though. Like just being alive in that time. Like yes, we all rode fucking BMX bikes. Like how could you fucking not, dude? Who doesn't want to go jumping off some fucking ramps?
That's true. And speaking of like. The other thing that we didn't get to when we were talking about the fashion fits is like the no socks, and we haven't decided. We were arguing over what the fucking shoes are. Are they penny loafers or boat shoes?
I would call them boat shoes, but I feel like there's maybe even a more specific name than that. But they're definitely not penny loafers. Like they definitely have laces and like not a slot for the fucking penny, which maybe some penny loafers do have.
Or maybe they're just loafers.
No, they're a little more stylish than that. A little more like I think boat shoe is on the right track.
Yeah, I mean, if you own a boat, just hit us up and let us know. Like, what do you call the shoes you wear on the boat?
They're cool. I would wear those shoes.
That was the one thing you kept saying through the movies. Like, I'd wear.
Okay,
that.
yes. So yes, I don't know about the white cardigan, but like, yeah, there's some fits. Dude has some like sick pants.
The fucking yellow long sleeve shirt.
Oh, that's a sick shirt.
That yeah, I can get with that. And we have to talk about, because it's all over this fucking movie, is the dinosaur pajamas.
Bro, I hate that about this movie. I absolutely despise about this movie. That's fucking stupid, dude. And I know it's supposed to be like, okay, like, for one, we just said he's 17. Oh, he's 17, he's wearing these fucking little kid fucking pajamas, and he kind of like, it kind of gives it like a superhero look, like, I mean, Spider-Man and Superman are wearing like fucking... super tight ass clothing too. Like, you know what I mean? It looks kind of an outfit like that. But like, it's almost as they could have just fucking sent his ass out on some diapers. I mean, that's how stupid he looks. I mean, it's fucking stupid, dude. It's just like they infantilize him. It's, that's why it bothers me. It's like, what's the point, dude? Like, I get it. It's supposed to be nighttime. You could dress his ass up like fucking Rip Van Winkle then. Fucking a little candle. It's a fucking little candle and a fucking like a nightgown, dude.
Oh, God.
Like a little fucking hat. I mean, really, come on. What are they trying to do with these pajamas? It really bothers me for some reason. I don't know why.
Because it's like, so much in that movie. Because.
Like, I guess, like, I don't know, what do men fucking sleep in? I mean, I guess they could just send his ass out in some boxers.
Or tighty whities or something.
Is that, like, I guess, is that what they're trying to come across as, like, he's in his sleepwear, right? So, again, Rip Van Winkle or fucking, it's John Jingleheimer Schmidt or whatever the fuck.
The thing about it is like, one note I wrote is like, I put 18, but I'll say 17 because that's what it's 17 going on 35.
Yes.
Because this guy does not look like he's anywhere close to high school age.
Yeah,
But then you look at his fucking actual room he's sleeping in. At his parents' house. At his parents' house. I guess he's I don't.
Wait,
does he
I
live?
don't
Does he
think
live?
he had an apartment. He's just at his parents' house. Yeah,
No, but then he shows up at another apartment. And he's laying. Maybe this. Maybe that's Tony's fucking apartment.
might be. Shit, I can't.
But
remember.
he acted like he fucking lived there. But then he's staying with his mom anyway. But then you
Yeah,
go.
no, he's got the house with all the different like the car posters.
yeah,
and shit.
like that, which
Like,
is the most 80s shit. Like he's got a Lamborghini. He's got girls in bikinis. Like
it's like 80s for like between like 1 and 10 years old.
Yeah.
This is the types of posters you have on your wall. It's just like it's like in the 80s when you would have like the stealth bomber poster.
Yeah,
and like a Lamborghini.
yeah. And even as a kid, I didn't like cars,
Which
but
is pretty sick.
yeah, like I had a fucking some kind of like fancy car poster on my bedroom wall as a kid, and I don't even fucking like cars. I
Yeah.
don't give a shit about sports car.
Yeah.
But I'll be goddamn if I didn't have one of those posters. It was just what you did in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like is this kid 8? Is he 17? Is he fucking 45? I don't know.
Yeah.
Because there's other shit that's gonna happen. We'll get there. The movie starts out with them at his birthday party, which is like everyone's fucking drunk.
Yeah.
And even his mom. I guess his mom being drunk is kind of the wink and a nod to the drunk mom in the first Elm Street.
Right.
Like that's pretty telegraphed there. But then like a bunch of his drunk friends leave, and then there's a bunch more still hanging out there. Or they didn't show up, they showed up late, and they're like, hey, we got your Ouija board.
Hell yeah. The girl that's his that becomes his love interest when they pop out on his birthday, and she's like hiding like kind of next to the couch. Dude, she pops out like fucking spaghetti from fucking Tim and Eric. She just like, why is she just like creeping right there, like kind of next to the couch? Dude, it's so funny.
The fact that like there's all these people and they're all fucking drunk as shit, and they bust out this Ouija board. But my favorite touch is they put fucking like kind of like ritual candles and Coke cans.
Mm-hmm.
And then like you get that like they put a filter on. I forget the name of the filter. It's like a lens filter that makes like candle light and stuff like that kind of like star out. I think it's called a star filter.
Okay. Yeah, it looked really cool.
It's a nice touch.
Yeah.
But then like, I guess the other thing that this movie could be ripping off a little bit. I'm trying to think what year it came. I think Witchboard.
Okay.
That's another one. So
Makes
you get
sense.
Witchboard, Evil Dead, Nightmare on Elm Street, Thriller.
Mm-hmm.
Throwing a lot of things in there. This is where things get tricky.
Mm-hmm.
And like, so his one friend gets possessed, as we find out.
Tony.
Yeah, Tony gets possessed by Virgil, and then Tony gets stuck in the TV, and they have a kind of like a mix of an Elm Street Videodrome moment.
Yeah.
I guess say Videodrome because that preceded Elm Street. Okay. So, it probably came from Elm Street 3 because there's the one where it obviously came from Elm Street 3.
right. Totally.
But
and it's like Freddy's head,
Yeah. But like it's kind of a cool moment. But like then Michael has his eyes turn red. Like can he see?
It's weird because he's like when his eyes turn red, and I guess he's having these like premonitions of one of his friends, which is ultimately like his friends that were there during the Ouija session, right? Like they're kind of being killed off.
Yeah. Which I've seen this movie 3 or 4 times now, and that was the first time I noticed that line of dialogue that like clears that up.
Yeah.
But I guess it's obvious, but it's just I never thought about it. I just thought it was just like random people he knew getting fucking whacked.
Yeah.
But I guess it was a little deeper and a little tighter in the writing there than I was thinking.
But he's having these premonitions, and as this is happening, and it's not quite clear to me whether some of these like is he having premonitions of like murders that are literally happening at that moment. But as he's like running, he's like bumping into shit. So I'm not sure if it's just like the red contacts and whatever. Is he blind? Is he seeing the future? So therefore he can't see like the physical reality in front of him. So he's like running, trying to figure some shit out, and he's like slamming into shit. I don't know. It's ridiculous.
I think there's a couple. I think he can't. All right, I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
But I also want to pinpoint that I also think it's the other thing too. I think he can't see where he's going because he just sees the visions. Yeah. Which makes for an interesting scene when like the fucking Virgil the demon's fucking chasing after him in the car. So like as he's looking ahead, does he see the car follow? Like how's that work?
Right.
Is it like a fucking weird VR loop that you're in? Like you're actually being chased, but then in front of you see what's actually happening behind you.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked up.
Yeah, it's insanity. But I also think there's times where he can see in those red contacts and he's just bumping to shit legitly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. But I don't know. But I like the red contacts. I think it's a nice little choice. And they really pop when he's in that fucking dinosaur pajama set.
Yeah, I mean, the colors again. He just looks like a damn superhero.
Greatest American hero.
Yeah,
Great.
true.
Maybe because that music cue is very reminiscent of it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's not that far off.
Right. I mean,
All
they're throwing him in like a superhero costume, really, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think of other things in this movie, like the rose shit.
The rose stuff is super weird.
Well, first it's like it's not even a full stem rose. It looked like he literally went and plucked it, like broke off a rose from like a table setting or something like that. And he's going to give it to his girlfriend, who's like getting forcibly having to kiss like some other dude.
Yeah.
I've kind of lost track of all the friends because like outside of Tony, because Tony got possessed. Everyone else is kind of like, I don't know. There's like fucking dude in the swatch. Like we had to talk about this because like I was gonna write down, my note was wife beater, and I realized like, oh, probably shouldn't call those shirts that anymore. So
Is it called an A shirt?
It's called an A shirt.
I think so.
I mean, we're learning all kinds of things, boat shoes, A shirts, or whatever. But like, yeah, fashion. Yeah, hey, see, Virgil, fashion. It's all syncing up now. But like, yeah, the rose shit's weird because he goes to like this girl that he like skipped school with and had like one day with and awkwardly ate ice cream with. Like, he's like, here's this rose, like some professing love, and then sees like some dude just like trying to like make out with her, and he gets upset and has this fucking ultimate emo moment.
And she's like, what? What, dude? He's just a friend. What the fuck?
Yeah, like, but like the way they shot it, he's like in a classroom with one knee up and the roses beside him, and he's looking out the window longingly. It's like, I'm surprised some fucking like emo fucking song from like.
I mean, it's that, but then it goes into like this kind of like weird sex scene that they have, and it's like pretty. It's not terribly far off from the fucking sex scene in The Room.
Yeah,
it's pretty corny.
It's not graphic, but it is corny as shit, and it's also, it comes down to like 17-35 because like this ain't like 17-year-olds.
They're 17 and it's a weird like Fabio style sex scene.
Yeah, because it's like slow motion and all that, and just like the
rose.
But then
on the table,
and then on fucking top of it, she's like, "I really like your room," with all the raised cars. God, it's just like, what the fuck? It's like, oh, I like your room and all the cars and shit. And it's just like, I guess he has toy cars and stuff, which comes up to...
It's pretty impressive.
I mean, yeah, I guess it is. Fuck. But the build up to that scene is like, when he hands her a rose, they like, I wrote down Hitchcock's Notorious, because there's like a famous kissing scene in there with Ingrid Bergman and Cary Grant. But it's not in slow-mo. But like the way they cut to their extreme close-ups of their faces as they get closer and closer, it's like this big build-up to like a kiss you do not want to actually see. And then just once that happens, it's just...
That slow-motion kiss was so weird, dude.
It was the most terrifying thing in the movie. Let's be real. Leading into like that fucking room-esque like sex scene, which kind of feels out of place.
Yeah.
But then I guess it feels in place with the other shit that happens in this movie. You got Virgil possessed Tony. So Tony Virgil, he's got like Evil Dead dagger, which I guess they kind of explain where it came from, but it's just like, if it's a possessed demon that's coming out of a Ouija board, where is he grabbing a fucking dagger from?
Yeah.
Obviously the dagger's inspired by Evil Dead, but like the dagger was with the Necronomicon when they showed up. So the dagger was already established. At no point is this dagger established. He's just like pulling out and fucking shanking people with it. Yeah. I wrote this down because like the mom has probably the best line in the movie here, which is like, "There's something you should know. I have a drinking problem," to like a fucking cop. Or was it cop? Was it a psychiatrist? Like, who the fuck was that person she said it to?
I can't even remember. But she definitely did.
She definitely
She's not lying.
And then the scene cuts. Like, that's where the scene ends. Like, I think you should know I have a drinking problem. Hard cut to the next scene.
just cultivating some just like great one-liners, you know?
I mean, maybe that's all it was. And then I think right after is when he had his hissy fit scene in those dinosaur pajamas.
Dude,
fucking
he's ripping down all those posters.
Dude, there's a fucking bit where he's throwing jeans against the wall, like just angrily. I've never seen anyone angrily throw jeans and they just like kind of lightly just bounce off like a Ferrari poster or whatever.
He's just committed to the pajama look. Fuck these jeans.
Yeah, for real. Now, what I want to talk about is probably maybe the best put together sequence in the movie is that hospital sequence. Because, like, you know, he's like got the red contacts. He's trying to get to his friend's sister that was working as a nurse that's getting stalked. And he runs in this fucking, I guess, security. Although he calls him a cop.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't think it's a cop. It's a security guy.
He doesn't look like a cop.
I mean, he might have aviators and the like sickest ass like giant walkie-talkie I've ever seen.
Right, he's the security guard that thinks he's a cop.
Yeah, definitely. Like, why else are you wearing aviators inside in a hospital?
Yeah,
where it's like that might be my favorite character in the movie is that dude.
Yeah.
And then like, you know, he goes and calls a phone, and it's like, why are you calling someone on the phone when you have that fucking sick ass walkie-talkie? I would be calling everyone with it.
You could fucking call someone on the moon with that walkie-talkie.
Dude, I mean, that fucking antenna, like, that had to have fucking great reception. Like, and then, like, a nurse shows up, and then his boss, I guess. Is it the boss? I don't know who the other guy is. Like, he's dressed kind of similar to the other guy, but he doesn't have a name tag.
Yeah.
Where, like, the one security dude with the aviators, I think it was Quintana, was his fucking name tag on there. Like, that guy was... That guy's a top-tier fucking character. So, the hospital scene ends with, like, you know, Michael finally seeing Tony Virgil in the flesh. And he's like, Tony, you're dead. And he's like, no, I'm Virgil, bitch, or whatever. And he comes stalking after him, and, like, I guess he also has those red contacts in, or red vision, so it's like, again, as he's running away, is he can't see because of the contacts, or is it because of the implied visions? So he's watching himself being chased. Yeah. And then he jumps through a fucking window. And it's fucking great in those fucking stupid pajamas.
Dude, it's in my field of vision right now, but I can't see who made it. Who was this? Vinegar Syndrome?
Yeah, Vinegar Syndrome.
Didn't they? I think they were selling shirts of that fucking pajama shirt.
They sold a full fucking pajama
the whole
set.
thing. Oh god, it hurts my brain so much.
I'm gonna hurt your brain even more.
I hate it.
Because when I got this movie, I bought a set.
I was gonna say, if you are out there listening to this, if you bought those pajamas, just tell us that you did. Send photos if you got them on Twitter. Like, hit us up. We want to see your stupid ass fucking pajamas, dude.
I saw one pic. Andrew Furtado from Severn got them, and he posted a picture of himself wearing them. I actually ordered them, and I put them on, and I was like, I fucking hate myself.
Y'all have way too much fun, dude. You have way too much fun.
Well, you know, I put them on once. I threw them shits out.
You looked in the mirror and went, motherfucker, dude.
I was like,
who have I become?
It's like I have wasted $35 or whatever it was on this, and I never felt ashamed.
Shout out to everyone that bought those. That's sick, dude. Respect. Respect.
I mean, I didn't like it because there's no fucking pee hole. Like, it's not a fucking adult pajama set.
If there was a fucking ass flap,
dude. If there was an ass flap, I would have kept them. But it's just like
it's like not even a onesie, but there's still an ass flap. I would love it. I mean, those exist.
I mean, I'm sure they do. And that's I didn't like the pants because they had no pockets and all that. I was just like, I don't.
Pants? Are they pants?
No, they're pajamas, but like
Did it feel like a costume? Did it feel like a Halloween costume, or did it feel like legit? Just I bought a pair of pajamas.
It felt like I time traveled and bought pajamas from like the 80s, and then realized that it's like it was funny, but like I will admit I wasted my money and they weren't for me. And I mean,
it is funny. Like I respect some good marketing. That's great. That's great.
I thought it was funny, but then it's just like as I was moving out, like.
Yeah, god damn it.
I was like...
Remember that? Like, oh, I wish I had $30 right now.
I could have bought anything. I could have bought another Blu-ray of a movie I liked other than having a set of pajamas from a movie that I do enjoy, but was never going to wear. And, like, I definitely tossed them. I'm sure I could repurpose them, but I was so...
You tossed them. I'm happy that you went all in.
I went all in and went all out. I fully decided that I've already wasted my money. Might as well... The shame of like trying to resell those, or like I didn't even want to take them to Goodwill. They went in the trash. Speaking of things and how people are like dressed up, their friend Robert, who's drunk ass, who was supposed to be one of the next victims after the hospital, he's wearing that that Swatch A shirt
Yeah.
and tighty whities, and they're fucking dragging him around. They're like, we gotta protect him, gotta see him. And then, like, I forget what Michael was doing, but his other friend with a shotgun walks into that fucking convenience store to go get cigarettes, and like, hilarious unintentional like robbery scene. The guy's like, how much owe you? He's like, oh, just take the stuff. And he's like, oh, okay, cool. Like, that's pretty fucking funny. That was well done. Also want to mention, when Robert gets his throat slit, it is the slowest fucking throat slitting ever put on camera.
Totally. It's a nice one.
But yeah, and we should mention that the effects in this movie are solid all the way through.
Oh yeah, totally.
Like, makeup looks good, gore looks good. It's fucking good. And I think that's what adds to the watchability of it, and why it does feel nostalgic for like that time period, because it is replicating that. I mean, it's not it's from that time period, and it is that thing.
Yeah.
Despite probably being very confusing, and trying to kitchen sink method might get you lost here and there. But as we were getting through it, other things in this movie, like I like the Phantom car bit, which we already talked about a little bit.
Yeah.
Like when the car like kind of like drives off in front of the cops and there's like no one in it. Mm-hmm. That's pretty sick. When Michael shows up at his girlfriend's house and they're having a family dinner, and he's like, "Oh, get her dad with the fucking crazy fucking like, I guess like curl sand, not even curl, like giant fucking mustache. Looks like he's in a mustache competition guy." And he's like, "Get this boy some wine," and then he like pulls out a gun because he keeps seeing the fucking like Virgil Tony thing. He's like shooting up the house. Like, that shit's fucking crazy. Yeah. And then they steal Dad's car, which is like, I put down Grey Poupon car.
Yeah, it totally is.
It's kind of like I don't know if it's exactly a Rolls Royce, but
yeah,
it might as well be.
Makes me think of the Hitler car from Rat Race.
How, man, working in a Rat Race reference here.
Dude, it's a race, and I'm winning. I'll quote that shit at you.
Dude, so, God damn it.
Remember Mr. Bean was popular?
Yeah.
There was a number of years where they made movies.
Oh.
That shit is stupid as fuck. I fucking hate it.
I remember seeing one of those movies.
I definitely saw a Mr. Bean movie in the theater. Why?
I don't know.
Just dying laughing. He doesn't say shit.
Yeah. I like how
this motherfucker never says shit. It's so funny.
Yeah, fucking Rowan Atkinson, fucking getting that bag by not saying shit.
He's so expressive.
I mean, what do you mean, like the fucking scrunch face?
You almost know what's on his fucking mind, dude. I love him. That's just a really fucking stupid era.
Dude, I don't know how we pivoted to Mr. Man. Fuck, man. I don't know. I guess the last thing to talk about is the ending of the movie, which we already mentioned was at the power station boiler room or whatever it is, which is obviously throwback to Freddy's lair, which is, I guess, the, boiler room nightmare world. But the thing is, it's like when Michael's like going to fight, he's like stops, he's telling his girlfriend to get out. He's like, "Hey girl, I love you." And then goes back in. That's like, that shit's hard.
Yeah.
He's getting ready to fucking throw down, and then gets fucking giant rocks and fucking logs thrown at him.
Yeah, it's true.
Like it's fucking Donkey Kong up in there.
But they're obviously made of styrofoam, and they're like, bounce all weird.
Yeah, they have the weight of styrofoam. I mean, that might be the one wonky effect is all those fucking rocks and logs. And like, why does a power station have rocks and logs laying around? Yeah. What is that? But I don't know. But the showdown's pretty good, especially when he's levitating and they get, kill Virgil Tony. There is that fucking Elm Street, also could say Evil Dead moment when they have like Virgil Tony gets crushed by whatever that fucking thing is. That is not a styrofoam rock or log. Yeah. And he's like, "Hey man, it's Tony. I'm fixed." And it's like, "No, you're not. Your face still looks all fucked up." Yeah. I was like, "It's not gonna work." And then fucking Michael falls for it and gets levitated. Oh yeah. So. But, I think as ridiculous and kitchen sink as the movie is, I think it's a great, it's a great 80s horror movie.
Yeah. It's a fun one. It's definitely worth seeing. I really enjoyed it, man.
So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of our final thoughts on it. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of good fits outside of that fucking dinosaur pajamas.
Yeah, I don't know if it was just due to watching it with someone else, but it's definitely way funnier this time around. And like I say, I definitely had more of a love for like the nostalgia factor the first time around. Like it just felt like a lost film that I should have seen at the time.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it's got all the elements. It's like it's got a synth score, which a lot of people love. Granted, it is a not very good, very terrible synth score, but like it still has something. So it's going to evoke that era, regardless of how good or bad it is. You know, it has gore effects. It's got like, you know, it's got enough ridiculous like on the nose 80s shit where I think like when people try to like redo like 80s horror stuff, that's kind of shit they think is, but like because this came out in that era,
Yeah.
It's authentic, where someone else is trying to put up a fucking, I don't know, Christy Brinkley poster and a fucking Ferrari and what other shit 8 to 35-year-old child would have in their bedroom at their parents' house. I don't know. I think it's a pretty solid thing, and like, you know, so I guess the wrap up here is like, how, on a scale from 1 to 10, how much of an Elm Street ripoff do you think this really is?
I'd probably give this on you know, I'd probably give it like a 6 or a 7 on the Freddy scale.
You know, I'm going to agree with that. I think 6, maybe 6.5 is a fair assessment, because I know it's sold as like, you know, the Mexican like Nightmare on Elm Street ripoff.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like because of the Evil Deadness of it, and maybe a little bit of Witchboard and like that kind of stuff, I think there's enough things that like clearly it's an influence.
Mm-hmm.
And especially towards the end where like he definitely does the low, like, "Rah, bitch," or whatever thing.
Right.
Like there's definitely those Freddy moments. But I feel like overall, because of the way those Elm Street movies work, and as we were talking about, like especially during that like the classroom scene where like, which was the most on the nose, I think, out of all the Elm Street stuff. It's like there's a certain vibe to that first Elm Street that like I don't think any movie has really recaptured, and that's including other Elm Street sequels. Right. There's something about that first one that like works in its own unique way that like has never been replicated, and I think a lot of the Freddy aping comes from like the sequels on.
Yeah. But that first one was truly something special. It's truly creepy. It like, especially when we were younger and seeing it, like it really affected me as a kid.
Well, I think it's because it's actually dark, and Freddy is sinister before he became a stand-up comedian.
Totally.
And like, you know, and we talked a little bit about this, and I know we're not talking about Dope Panic, we're talking about the movies it's, you know, aping, or one of the movies aping, but like, I feel like, and you said it, if they had only done Elm Street 1 and 2 and never made another one, I think
I mean, despite being like, you know, something that everyone knows, it would be just legendary if it was just those first 2 films.
And like, and I like I'm one of those defenders of part 2. I think part 2 is fantastic, and like in every way and every interpretation you can have of it, because it's like the point counterpoint. Because like, yeah, Freddy starts having jokes in the second one, and obviously there's like the homoerotic angle to it as well. But like, I think they work uniquely on their own, where nowhere else in the series it kind of like hits the same. Where I think, you know, I've already said I'm not a big Dream Warriors fan. Yeah. And I think like that, just like that's the movie where most people like, that's where their allegiance of when they think of Elm Street, that's what they think of. When I think of Elm Street, I think of those first 2 movies. I think of the first one just being dark, mean, fucking brutal, nasty. Yeah. Like that's the Wes Craven that clearly the Wes Craven that made Last House on the Left and Hills Have Eyes and shit like that is still in there making that Elm Street. Whereas like, you know, again, like I feel like it's gonna be blasphemous saying this, like I'm not the biggest like Wes Craven stan.
Yeah.
And there's things I like. I like Deadly Friend, which I know not a lot of people like. I like it because it's like so tonally out of whack, because like they try to do one movie and they're like, no, you have to do this movie this way, where like it doesn't really meet the needs. But I think like that first Elm Street movie is perfect. In a way like a lot of horror movies never achieve, like sort of like how Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original 74, is perfect, and like how Halloween is perfect, where it's just like there's something in that formula that's never been replicated in any of the sequels, remakes, or whatever. Right. And like, but the reason why I'm saying this for Don't Panic is I think when there's moments when it kind of touches back to that first Elm Street movie, it reminds me of that first Elm Street movie. And like, it's kind of a testament to like Don't Panic kind of getting it right.
Right.
Obviously, there's a lot of ridiculous shit in the movie, but like when it kind of like harkens back to the first Elm Street and like kind of the actual terror and like the meanness of it, I think it's it's a close kinship. So I don't know.
I think that the ultimately why this one didn't do the same and have like a shit ton of sequels is ultimately because Virgil just isn't a very strong villain. You know, like it's not memorable. Where even before Freddy came with all the jokes and shit in like the second and beyond, in the first he was still memorable even when it was a bit darker and fucked up.
And I agree with that. Yeah. I mean, the thing is like that's a testament to Robert Englund, and this is something we talked about kind of last episode with Evil Dead, and like I enjoyed that last Evil Dead movie that just came out, Evil Dead Rise, but I don't think the franchise really fully works without Bruce Campbell because that's your face.
Yeah. And
like I feel like when it's something, it's sort of like you can't redo Phantasm without Angus.
Yeah.
As the tall man. I don't think they're I'm sure at some point someone's going to approach a remake of it that Coscarelli might or might not sign off on depending. But I can't see anyone else being the tall man. Because he's synonymous. And like I know they just did a Candyman like reboot or whatever that did call back to Tony Todd, but it's like when I think Candyman I only think Tony Todd because like it's him, you know?
Oh yeah,
he owned it. And like it's something to think about like when you're the face of franchise. It's why like with Michael Myers and Jason they don't, I know people love them, but people really fucking love Freddy in a way that, and it's part of it is just the charisma of Robert Englund. I think in part 2 they tried to recast him at some point.
Oh, really?
And they had a stunt double in there for a couple of shots, and then they realized it just didn't fucking work. And they actually paid Robert Englund, gave him a bag, and he came back. And
well, it's like they gave him such great makeup. Yeah. Whereas instead of just covering up his face with the hockey mask, with the with the shape mask.
Yeah.
It was still, even though it was like very obscured, it was still Robert Englund's face. Yeah. And it was Robert Englund being Robert Englund that made it Freddy, and it wasn't just some shapeless thing chasing you, some like just ominous.
It's a performance.
Oh yeah,
it's a full on.
Kane Hodder and the guy that did it before him and whatever, they didn't have to be actors.
Yeah,
sure they were big and menacing, but they didn't have to do a whole lot to be Jason or to be Michael Myers. I personally think, like, sure, I'll give them the credit that they're due, but they're just a guy with a fucking mask on that's just chasing.
Well, I mean, a lot of those dudes who played Michael Myers and like Jason were stuntmen.
Yeah,
and that's not a knock on their acting ability. I mean, Kane Hodder's done plenty of other things and he's been good in it.
Well, Freddy wasn't jumping through windows really. No, he wasn't doing the big physical stuff.
Yeah. But when you get down to Freddy versus Jason, he's doing fucking wire work in that shit.
Yeah, true.
But that's when you hire Hong Kong director Ronnie Yu's directing. So that's kind of cool to see Freddy doing Freddy Foo.
Mm-hmm. I saw in the theater. I mean, that was ever since we were kids, there were rumors swirling around. I mean, there were rumors swirling around for almost 20 years of like Freddy versus Jason, but like, was that some shit that just like some kid made up on the playground?
No, it didn't become a thing until like actually New Line got the rights from Paramount.
Yeah,
and then they were setting up because like Jason Goes to Hell that's where you first saw the glove come out and then grab the hockey mask. So yeah, they built it up for good years, and I was I think 13 or 14 when that movie came out, and then like. By the time they actually got to Freddy versus Jason, I was like 21, 22 at that point. It took a while because like that's why Jason X happened, because they had to make a Friday the 13th movie or their rights would lapse. Which is kind of, and I actually like Jason X because of just how fucking weird it is. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not a big franchise horror guy, we talked about, but like I can point out things I like in any of those franchises. But like, I think ultimately, like, when it came to Freddy versus Jason, Kane Hodder didn't get the call. They brought in a completely different guy.
No shit.
And it was just, that's what happened. But they sure as shit made sure they had Robert Englund. Yeah. And like, and that's kind of where like the guy playing Virgil, Tony or whatever, it's like, it's not like he's bad or anything, but it's just like he's just another dude in fucking makeup. Where it's like, say what you will about that Freddy Krueger franchise, Robert Englund fucking made it his own. And that's like even doing Freddy's Nightmares, where he's just doing hosting segments. There's like him showing up on talk shows, coming out in Freddy Krueger makeup, and like really just fucking embodying it. Because he also was in V before that, so he's used to acting through makeup.
Yeah.
And he was also an actor. He was in like Stay Hungry with Schwarzenegger. He's in fucking Eaten Alive, the Tobe Hooper movie. Blanking on some other things he was in before. Oh, The Big Wednesday. He's in the surfing movie. He's the guy fucking narrating it with Jan Michael Vincent and shit.
Okay.
So, like, you know, Robert Englund was an actor. And he was just coming through. So,
I don't know when this episode will probably not even drop until after, but next I think it's the 11th. We're doing a Robert Englund tribute for via the American Cinematheque. It's taking place down at the Arrow. Yeah. So by the time this airs, by the time you hear this, it'll probably be over. But we're showing Stay Hungry and Nightmare 3, Freddy vs. Jason.
Yeah, they're actually showing a variety from his career. It's not just a Freddy marathon.
It's kind of right. And it's kind of coincidental that we're doing this like fake Freddy Krueger episode now, but we've been threatening to do this for at least 6 months. So it's just kind of like, oh shit, we're actually doing this right before that happens.
And then it's not going to come out until after.
Man, I'm not fucking editing this shit anytime soon. But
well, yeah. Remember, we edited it twice, but yeah, I think that's a good place to take a little break here. But when we return, more of Freddy's knockoffs here on the Cinematic Void podcast.
So, are you ready, Michael? Yeah. One, two, three. Promise never to play with the Ouija board again.
Hey, you guys. Maybe he's right. We shouldn't play this game.
Bitching, Tony.
Welcome back. We've been talking about some movies that were inspired by the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. And up next, well, actually, before we get up next, I should say that we've hinted at this episode for like 6 fucking months now. Maybe even longer. And boy, is our timing just absolute shit. One, there's that fucking marathon with Robert Englund showing up at the Cinematheque that's going to be pretty much happening this weekend as we're recording. It'll be already done by the episode coming out. And then when we did the first movie, Don't Panic, you know, we're like, all right, cool, we got this done finally. On Joe Bob Briggs, on the last drive-in, they play Don't Panic that night.
yeah, it's just a funny coincidence. As soon as I posted it, people were like, oh yeah, I'm watching that tonight on Joe Bob. I'm like, are you serious? I had no clue.
It's I would use the word synergy, but like it's not synergy because we're coming way fucking late on this. So
I mean, basically, we've been talking about it, and then they took our idea. Is what happened.
Probably. I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
No.
Probably.
I mean, you know, the way the last drive-in program stuff, it's like they have a library stuff, and they do play a lot of Vinegar Syndrome stuff, which Don't Panic is under.
Gotcha.
Same with Severin and all that. So, like, anytime we talk about any of our friends' boutique label shit, there's a good chance that something like this is going to happen. It actually happens in my regular programming. It hasn't happened in a while, but there was a time where, like, there was a couple things I would play, and then would end up on there, and, like, I don't think it's real. It's just a coincidence, really, because, like, you know, pulling from the same kind of catalogs.
Yeah.
So, but I did think that was funny. However, as we record this part of the podcast here, I doubt this is going to pop up on the upcoming Last Drive-In, since I think it's a Mother's Day themed, and I don't think there's a single thing that's going to tie that in.
Yeah. What's your guess? What do you think they're going to play?
They already played the movie Mother's Day, so I don't know. I think it might be a new thing and an old thing. I don't know offhand because, like, I have to lolook at what's on Shudder and whatever, and I could pull a guess, but I'm not really prepared. But we should talk about what we just watched, which, you know, I don't think you had a good time with this one, did you?
It's fine. It's fine. It's excruciatingly long. Even if you did, Jim wanted to skip past the musical numbers so bad. We haven't even named the film yet, but we're going to go into details here.
I offered it because like it's a long run time.
Yeah,
and like
it's a long ass movie. It's a long ass movie that's not about anything.
Yeah,
so that's why I love a long movie.
Yeah, well, I know you do, but it's just like, those elements, and we'll get into musical numbers and all that. So I guess we just go ahead and say the film is 1994's Mahakal, aka The Monster. It was directed by Shyam and Tulsi Ramsey, the famous Ramsey brothers who made all kinds of Bollywood horror movies. Actually, Mondo Macabro just put out a box set of a bunch of their films. I think it's 6 or so in that box set. I watched one of those recently, and that one was a lot of fun. And this one I've seen a few times, and like, even in this rewatch, like I always like, yeah, this is fun. But I think when we're trying to analytically break it down and just like, I think Bollywood movies, like unless you're a super fan, you have to be in the mood for it. And that's just with anything. And I don't think either of us were really in the mood for it, which is probably the other reason why we pushed this episode off for 6 months, because it's like, it's like, yeah, I've seen Don't Panic and I've seen this. It's just like, am I in the mood to watch it?
Yeah.
Which is why we're going to just pivot and not talk about movies on this podcast.
So all the Ramsey stuff, are they all kind of remakes of other popular horror titles?
I think
is that how most Bollywood film works?
It's a little, sometimes yes, sometimes no. And like, maybe about 20 years ago, Bruce Holochek used to like order disc and get like tons of fucking Bollywood movies.
Okay.
And there was a good like 3 or 4 months, maybe not that much, but it felt like it at times, but we would just watch nothing but Bollywood movies. And I remember we watched a I Know What You Just Did Last Summer, like fucking Bollywood musical. And like, it was good, but it's just like, and I will say this, for a Bollywood length, most of them clock in over 3 hours, closer to 4.
Wow.
These are like 2.5, and they, they're not, there is the musical numbers, but we'll talk a little bit more as we're going. So, for those of you who haven't seen it, basically the plot is a demon torments the family and friends of Anita, who is basically the Nancy of your Elm Street lore here. And in order to take revenge on on his death, Freddy got murdered.
You know the movie already.
Yeah.
You've seen it already.
Yeah. So then, so basically, this movie loosely follows A Nightmare on Elm Street 1. There are some differences, and we'll get there as we go. First thing I noticed on IMDb, and I don't know if this is true, it says it was an authorized remake of A Nightmare on Elm Street. A lot of Bollywood movies are not authorized. Like, a few years back when the Cinematheque reopened, they showed Screwed for Christmas, and we did a supercut of, like, scenes from the Bollywood version of Screwed. Mm-hmm. And kind of cut them in, and like, some scenes are pretty dead on that what's in the movie. Others are like take their liberties and stuff like that. But I don't know how copyright works in India, and I'm not gonna proclaim I do. But like, a lot of Bollywood movies will be remakes or reimagining of bigger hit movies from other countries. Like, I remember seeing one that had like exact shots from like The Professional, Leon the Professional, like framing and everything. And this one,
I mean, was Screwed that popular here? Like, that's a weird one.
I think they just did it. They just did any movie. Yeah. It's just a platform. So, but this movie was allegedly they started filming in 1988, and it was released in 1994. So I don't know if I don't think they shot all those years. They might have like shot it, didn't get a chance to edit it. I don't profess to know why there's like such a gap there.
Yeah.
But, there's the opening, which, starts out, looks like an Elm Street movie. Kind of feels like an Elm Street movie. And I'll say, like, cinematography-wise and shots and stuff like that, it's a really fucking gorgeous movie. Massacre Video put out this version. I originally saw this when Mondo Macabro put it out on DVD, and then this came out on Blu-ray. And I think it was on one of my top picks for, when we were top 5 Blu-ray picks for a few years back. I forget what year it was. It was it's been, I don't know, lost track on the pandemic.
Well, I was curious of the history of something like this. You said Bruce had like a DVD or something way back in the day.
Not this movie, just Bollywood movies in general.
Oh, okay. But like, what's the history of something like this? Like, how did we get here to where Masker's doing a nice Blu-ray of it? Has it been like very rare before that? Has this been like a sought after thing?
No, I mean, Mondo Macabro put out a decent DVD release of it, and that was out. And then Mondo Macabro just did the Ramsey Brothers box set of it too. I think Massacre just kind of licensed it, and I know when it came out because they put it out the same time as their Toxic Zombies disc, and this one was selling pretty good.
Cool.
I mean, it's a Bollywood Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah,
that's a selling point for a lot of people. Like,
oh, for sure, people would buy that sight unseen.
Exactly.
But I was curious if there's just been a legend of this existing since '94, and now people are checking it out. Or I'd never heard of it until Massacre did this. But
yeah, I mean,
that's just me.
It's just been out, and it's like a lot of things. I think the things I'm seeing, like cult cinema wise, like I think the European stuff is it's not going away. Plenty of people are still putting out Italian, lost giallo films from the 70s, a lot of Spanish stuff, but I'm seeing a lot of Hong Kong stuff, and I'm seeing a lot of like Indian and like Pakistani and like that kind of stuff is starting to come out and come back again.
Cool.
Which is,
so
I
it kind
think,
of comes in waves.
It comes in waves. Like, there'll probably be another like kind of Japanese horror boom, or like Takeshi Miike kind of thing, because like I think all those things are due to come back, because like Hong Kong stuff is getting big again, and like I think there's going to be more Bollywood horror stuff coming here and there. So I think it's just a wave of like, there's only so many times you can put out the same fucking movie on Blu-ray, 4K, whatever.
Yeah.
People are going to want to be adventurous and like, give a chance to like some world cinema, like world genre cinema.
Totally.
So I think that's what's going on. We were talking about like how this was authorized or not. I can tell you what was not authorized in this movie. The use of Michael Jackson's Thriller.
Hell yeah. Puma Man.
Yeah, dude. That dude, I don't know. I didn't write down the character's name, but like that dude in that red Puma fucking tracksuit, best character in the movie.
He's real sick.
He should have actually killed the fucking monster or the Freddy of this movie. But
he should have been the final girl.
Yeah, he should have been the final girl. That guy was fucking sick. Like, he's got dance moves, everything. Like, that guy was kind of just fucking rad. But like, we should just overall talk about the fits in this movie, because we talked about it in Don't Panic, and like there are some sick outfits in this.
Sick outfits and a complete lack. Actually, no, I'm wrong. I will rate the pajamas in this film a million times better. The dad had the robe.
Oh yeah,
the dad had the sick like paisley robe that just destroys this goofy fucking dinosaur pajamas.
Oh, I agree. Like, pajama-wise, people are just killing it in this movie. So,
but clothing overall, like everyone, dude, there's that sick Iron Maiden shirt.
Yeah, what is that? It's like a collared like baby blue shirt with like, it's from like
I wasn't big on the style of shirt, but the colors and the actual design itself.
Yeah, because it's
real sick.
I think it was like Can I Play with Madness, like from like the 12-inch cover. I think that was the art on it. And it's like, did they ever make shirts like that, or is it like a fucking giant iron-on?
I think it might be a fucking iron-on, which is cool as hell.
Dude, but everybody
else, it's just that. I mean, this is the 90s, right? But like, maybe culture was still kind of they were still culturally in the 80s. It's just like the awesome like windbreakers. Like this is. I mean, when was Don't Panic? Was that?
It was like 86, 87.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like stylistically, they're kind of in that same zone of fashion.
Yeah.
It feels like it's 86 and not fucking. Well, it was 88, I guess, right?
Yeah.
They started filming it in 88,
and then it come out to 94. So
I wonder if they had we better hang on to these clothes. They're still dressing like it's 88 when they're fucking still filming in 94. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if they were still filming that later. They just finished they shot the film and just didn't.
Totally. Yeah.
Like that's where it's kind of at. So,
but either way, no matter when it was shot, it doesn't matter if it was shot today. They look fucking fantastic, dude.
Yeah.
Sick clothing that some of it I wish I had.
Yeah, dude. There's some fucking stylish motherfuckers in this movie. I guess
like the color palette, everything. I mean, like to add to like the clothing stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like, the color in this, it kind of changes. We'd noticed that some of the color changes. Probably the.
I think it might be the color time from wherever the source was. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't. I'm not looking at the Blu-ray offhand, but it definitely looks like it wasn't sourced from it could have been from a negative, because like my understanding is like places like China and India don't necessarily have great film preservation, or it did at the time, or maybe because of what the genre is.
Yeah.
So, like, you can definitely see some scratches and some, like, a little off color, and I think we both caught some missing frames here and there, which was, you know, it was on the Blu-ray, but it's like, it didn't detract from it, because, like, the film is pretty fucking gorgeous. Even,
it's really nice.
Even when you get outside the Nightmare, like, really stylized, like, Nightmare on Elm Street stuff, the rest of the film looks really good. It's just nice and colorful.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I don't hate this. I don't hate this. It looks fucking great, and it's really well done. It's really nicely made.
Yeah.
It truly is. Like, I have to admire the craft, if anything. I might have hated the musical numbers.
Yeah.
I might have been a little bored.
Yeah. We'll talk about the musical numbers. So, like, honestly, there's only three real ones where, like,
Yeah, I suppose, but they're like fucking, at least what feels like 7 minutes apiece.
yeah, well, normal Bollywood movies have more.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, they kind of did an okay job incorporating them into the plot, because there's a lot of Bollywood movies where the musical numbers will be completely unrelated to whatever the fuck is going on in the movie. Like, it's a hard break.
I mean,
Well, they all kind of lead into it. So the first one, you know, they're at the beach, which is very Nightmare on Elm Street, because, you know, I remember when all the kids are hanging out at the beach.
hell yeah.
Okay, that didn't actually happen.
I think there's a scene where Freddy's glove, it like comes out of the sand and it's the blades coming at you while you're fucking laying on the beach. Or that was just the beginning of this movie. I don't remember.
Well, that wasn't in this at all.
Okay.
But, like,
but there's a beach scene. So something crazy happens there. I don't even remember. We watched that like last week.
Yeah. I mean,
we watched the first 10 minutes last week and the rest today.
Yeah.
Which makes no sense, but
yeah, well, I mean, I think I don't think anything horror-wise happened in this beach scene. It's just a musical number. They're just enjoying a day at the beach.
Yeah, okay.
And, like, that might be the one that is, like, the least related. But I guess they were just like, out of school, let's go to the fucking beach.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. The second song is, like, they go and have a picnic. And it's just, like, it's literally a fucking musical number about having a picnic.
Is that when the homie Michael Jackson pops up?
No, that was earlier. That was like at the beginning. Like, the dude. Well, no, he pops up all the way through. He's dancing to all these.
Yeah.
The picnic song actually leads to their car being broken down, and they have to stay the night at a hotel, which we'll get to, because we'll talk about some of the other secondary characters that kind of stole the movie, as it were. And the last musical number, the way I put it was like, it's a dance club scene, and like kind of like a Miami Sound Machine musical number. And like, shout out to the Puma Man dude, because he's like he's in a nice suit, just vibing. Like, he's not even the focus of the song, but him being there takes it up notch. That's my favorite musical number. But the other thing I'll say about the musical numbers, like, the first two happen pretty early on consistently, and then, like, there's a long stretch where, like, ain't no musical number. So this one comes relatively late, and it's just like, I mean, maybe that's just the choice. But it just feels weird, man, if you're gonna do the musical numbers, that, like, they're kind of consistently paced out at one point and then drop that one, like, pretty much within the last, like, 40 minutes of the movie or so.
Yeah.
It just seems like odd flex.
Yeah. Weird timing. I recently, quick aside, I watched Dancer in the Dark, you know, that Lars von Trier.
With Bjork,
and the first musical number hits like 45 minutes in or something. So and I didn't quite know that it was a musical.
Really?
So when it hit, it was just like, what the fuck? Like, everybody just starts singing. Like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
But then it happens numerous times after that.
Yeah, it's also Lars von Trier, and, like, he's in control.
But I think that, you know, probably timing in your dance numbers is probably important to a musical to help with the flow.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is kind of weird that then there's this huge span until the last one. But the last one was a great, like you said, it's the best one.
It's the best one. They saved the best for last. But maybe the placement was, I don't know. It felt really late in the juncture when you're, like, in the home stretch trying to get to the final point, and it's just like, here we go.
One more fucking long ass song to get through.
Now, the thing we also noticed, just like Don't Panic, is that everyone is 18 going on 35.
Oh God, yeah.
There's not a single fucking teenager in this fucking movie. But, you know, it is what it is. The other thing I want to kind of talk about is the actual score as opposed to the musical numbers. And it definitely has a little Charlie Bernstein original Elm Street vibe to it. Like, I think there's a couple times where they play we weren't sure if it's a tritone or whatever. It's the single note motif, the that thing.
Yeah.
But they play it just enough off to maybe not get sued. I don't know what the deal was.
There's parts where it's just the notes.
Yeah. There was a couple other musical numbers where I'm pretty sure are from other movies that they just laid in, which is another common, like, you know, Bollywood thing. I've watched Bollywood movies where you hear a very familiar music cue. Like Hong Kong used to do that. There'd be martial arts movies where there would be like Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath in it.
Yeah.
And just like shit that, like, you know, no one fucking cleared. So, but I watched another Ramsey movie the other day off that box set, and there was definitely some of that Friday the 13th score in it.
Oh, wild.
Like, pretty much it.
Yeah.
Someone else might have played it and they might have changed it just barely or whatever, but even when you get past the Elm Street stuff, there's some actually good tracks on there. And like I'll say, drum programming on this stuff on time.
Yeah, they actually use the MIDI.
Yeah. You know, after listening to Don't Panic, because, like, you know, when I watched Don't Panic, I never, you know, you think of the one theme song, but you don't think of the actual score. But when we were watching, we were paying attention, like, damn, those drums are fucking off.
Everything was just off on it. Yeah, I don't know. It's just some dude playing, fucking up.
Yeah. And this one, like, seems like whoever composed the music was, you know, attempting to keep the music in time. And I thought the score was really good. So I guess the best part of this movie is obviously when this movie is in its Elm Street bag and kind of recreating or inspired by things from mostly the first movie, but there's definitely, we saw bits of like 3, 4, and was it just 3? It was 1, 3, and 4.
I think 1, 3, and 4 probably sums it up pretty well.
So
and then a few other movies, really.
Yeah, we'll get as we go. Like you know, there's the Tina murder, you know, which is like probably one of the best known set pieces in this, where, like, you know, in original Elm Street, she gets like dragged across the fucking ceiling and all that, and it's fucking insane.
Mm-hmm.
They, you know, obviously they probably didn't have the budget to build a spinning room because that's how they did it in the original Elm Street. But, like, it's pretty effective how they killed the Tina character in this. Like, you know,
did it on the damn floor.
Did it on the floor, a bunch of fucking Freddy gloves popping up and like grabbing her.
It was actually it's very sick. It's actually one of the best. That and the wall one that happens later are the two, like, probably the coolest things that happen, and they're very simple effects.
Yeah,
but just
shoving hands through fucking things.
Shoving hands in holes, but they pull it off super well.
And I think that one later, that's towards the end of the movie, it's more of like, maybe it's inadvertent just because of the nature, but it reminded me of the Day of the Dead shot in the beginning during where all the zombie hands push through that fucking wall.
I think I would say it's an obvious homage, you know, like it has to be.
So
it's real sick.
Oh, it definitely is. And like I you know, I'm trying to figure out like what are my favorite, you know, Nightmare Elm Street-esque things in this. I think this one was pretty good. Was like, you know, the recreation of the Tina and the plastic bag scene, leading the Nancy character out of the classroom and all that.
Yeah,
like that girl that was playing the Tina character with when she's got her like eyes like all fucking like whited out and like there's blood. That shit's creepy.
Yeah, it was cool.
And when they're instead of going boiler room, they're in like an ice room.
Yeah.
Or like a meat locker, or I'm not sure what the fuck that was.
Yeah.
We were questioning it. It's like, you know, and I've seen this movie before. It's like, is that dry ice? Is it just regular ice?
It's just regular ice. I think they get deliveries every morning of these big giant pieces of regular ice, and it cools the building.
Maybe.
I was trying to figure it out.
You know, that's a good theory. We'll just go with that. There's one thing about that dead-eyed Tina character. She starts laughing at one point, and I don't want to say 100%, but I'm pretty sure it's just like they took the laugh from, I think, Linda and Evil Dead and just dropped it in there. If you guys want to go watch the movie and get to that scene and listen, I think it is.
Yeah.
Or it's someone doing a damn good impersonation, but it sounds like exact.
Right on.
But, you know, there's a little other, like, just like Don't Panic, there's some Evil Dead drops in here too. You know, it's... I think this scene's a good reinterpretation of the one from the original Elm Street.
Mm-hmm.
There's, like, obviously it follows the main objective of what happened in that one, but, like, there's just enough weird choices in it. And I think, like, that fucking Tina character is fucking creepy as fuck. Especially when she gets pushed on the hook and then she's, like, floating backwards. Like, it's just some weird, creepy shit. Another thing they recreate is the Rod in jail scene. The character Rod that goes to jail because he killed the Tina character in the movie. And unlike this one where, like, he gets kind of strangled and hangs himself, Freddy dude shows up. He doesn't walk through the gate because I guess they didn't have the optical effect to do it. He just opens the fucking door and walks in. But he's like slashing the wall and fucking snakes come out.
Yeah, he's slashing the concrete and he just like goes right through it like it's butter. It's sick.
I mean, it might have been actual butter, but like
yeah, and then snakes started crawling through the holes in the wall that he created. It's actually also one of the coolest things in the movie for sure. Like,
I mean, they had fucking cobras in that scene.
Yeah.
And it's just like, damn. There's a shot where like the actor is clearly right. I mean, they might have used like a telephoto lens and kind of cheated a little bit, but it's like he's damn near close to those cobras.
Mm-hmm.
And now those cobras might have been devenomed or whatever kind of thing.
Yeah.
But like,
I think some of it, like, there'd be like 8 snakes coming out of the wall, and probably like 3 of them are real. You know, the rest are just like rubber snakes. But it's to great effect.
Yeah. So that was I'd say a pretty good segment in there. There's a little nod to Elm Street 3 where like the father character. We should talk about the dad character right here. Like, I guess he's in the military or something. There's not really any police in him because I mean, unless I don't know what Indian, police force looks like. But like it looks like he's like a general or some shit.
Mm-hmm.
At least uniform wise. I could be reading that long, but like, I guess he's the John Saxon of this movie. Yeah. And like him and like the Nancy character's boyfriend like goes and like they go dig up the Freddy grave and he's not in there, and then he's just blowing up shit in a field.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not quite the Elm Street 3 where the Freddy skeleton comes up and like attacks them and shit, but like lots of I can complain about explosions.
Yeah.
There's also that Freddy in a car scene, which offhand I don't think was from any of those any Elm Street movie, but like it's it's another great sequence. And like, and you pointed out, it's like, hey, they use that same filter where the lights kind of like have that weird like star effect thing. It's like, yeah, tying all these together.
Hell yeah.
And I think there's more Evil Dead stuff. There's definitely a shaky cam bit where it's like the camera's running through the house and goes to the Nancy character's like bedroom, and then like that becomes a possession scene. She becomes possessed by the Freddy character for a bit, and I guess goes and kills like one of the bullies or scummy guys.
Dude, the fucking the aquarium scene, man.
Oh, the aquarium scene. Actually, oh yeah, fuck, I forgot about the aquarium scene. That shit is like, I guess if you don't have a boiler room but you have an aquarium, use the fucking aquarium.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, that was great. Like, especially
when I want to call him Freddy. What did he have a name even? Or is he's the monster?
He's the monster.
But he's like in one of the tanks.
And he busts out and like sprays her with water and shit.
It's fucking terrifying, dude.
It is. I don't know. It's sick. Like, straight up, it's fucking sick. They do it's kind of a double flip on a couple Elm Street things. There's I guess it's not the Johnny Depp surrogate character. I think it's just another villain character, but he kind of gets that death. It's like, there's this guy, like when the Nancy character or Anita is possessed and goes over to this dude's house and he's like, thinks he's going to knock boots or some shit like that. And then like all of a sudden he pulls back his bed and she's in the waterbed.
Yeah.
And like, it's really good. And all of a sudden like fucking the Huckle fucking pops out and fucking grabs him and pulls him in. And then like, you don't get that geyser of blood shooting out, but you definitely get like, it's definitely filled with like red or maybe some red light or something like that at the end. That I think is really well done too.
Yeah.
There was something else I was going to say about that and I can't remember what it was.
Back when people had water beds. Do people have water beds anymore?
No, I had one as a kid.
But that was like a trendy thing during like in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah,
it's funny.
Oh, now I remember about waterbed. There's a shot, like I think in Elm Street 4 where like there's people inside Freddy, like the lost souls that are pushing inside, and you can see like that was kind of reminiscent of that waterbed. That was the other note I was gonna say. So get your double Elm Street there. I guess we'll talk about the ending a little bit. So you got the Nancy character who you find out that her sister was killed by the Freddy character that the dad then killed. But I guess this is where it gets a little, like the guy's already burned up when the dad first runs into him back in the day and buries him alive. So it's just like, how did he get burned? Or is he just always the demon? And then by burying him, did it put him in the dream world? I guess that's just a little plot hole.
Yeah. I don't know. Did it show the dad kind of light him on fire in the box or something? Like it kind of seemed like it was going to go there.
Yeah, it was supposed to go there, but the guy was already burned up when he showed
really?
up. So like,
shit. Yeah, I don't know.
I guess he just said he was already a demon, but then it's just like,
yeah, okay.
But then, like...
He was like an earthly demon.
Yeah, and then he became a super-powered in-your-dream demon.
Right. But he did just escape from that, but like the box is empty.
Yeah.
So like he escaped. He's in reality. Well, maybe he's always been a dream demon.
Yeah, but he was definitely out in reality because the dad was awake.
Well, he's still in reality. Or is he? Is he not? I mean, I don't know. You know what I mean?
You know, instead of maybe the musical numbers, they should have cleared that shit up.
Yeah.
But
he's like somewhere else, just like, you know, in his lair, but he's just projecting himself into people's dreams from his lair. I mean, I don't know. Who knows?
It's good. There wasn't a lot of clarity on it. Yeah. And maybe that's fine. We'll talk about the ending here since we're talking about the Elm Street stuff. The ending's definitely not anything from an Elm Street movie, I guess. Because they have the showdown with Freddy in his lair. And, like, at first, like, you know...
They try to kung fu his ass up again.
Yeah, like, the boyfriend's, like, fucking just beating him. And, like,
yeah,
it's like
the Dream Warriors. That's, like, definitely the Nightmare 3 parts. It's just, like, they're just trying to fucking use some karate on Freddy.
It's like, why? If the dude's killing people in their dreams, why the fuck do you think that would work?
Everybody knows when you punch in your dreams, you punch in slow motion.
Yeah, well, there was definitely some slow-mo in there.
Yeah, that's not just me, right? Like that's a
real thing.
Yeah,
that's my understanding. Like when you dream,
like you ever get a good punch off in a dream? I don't know if I ever have.
You don't.
Not my whole life.
Like if you ever had dreams where you're hitting someone or something like that.
I have a lot of those.
You know,
I'm really violent. It's just me. It's just Street Fighter.
Fuck, dude. At this point, maybe I should consider saying, you know, try some therapy. But you know, but you're getting it out in your dreams.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not an angry guy.
No, you're not actually.
You know, I take that shit. I take that shit out in my sleep.
You're just like
fucking come back to reality. Like I'm chill, dude.
You're like fuck you, dreams. But like, Freddy's lair had some, dare I say, some convenient things laying around that I'm not sure why he had. He had a giant guillotine. And one of those, like, medieval, like, nail bed torture things. And at both points, it's like, you know, maybe it wasn't wise to have both those things. Because, one, he gets his legs chopped off by the guillotine. And then I think it's a pretty good effect, but I'm pretty sure they found an amputee to sub in for the guy that was playing Freddy for a bit. Or, as your theory was, the guy was...
I think he was always an amputee.
And was on stilts.
They gave him some stilts. And at the end, they took the stilts away and had him fucking crawl around.
I mean, you never know.
Or they chopped his legs off for the movie.
Could be. Sometimes you gotta do that for art. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so he's crawling around and it's just like, you know, he gets punched, he got stabbed with something, and it's just like, I guess, well, they did say something earlier in the movie that the only way to get rid of, they're talking to some, like, mystical guy. I think you're like, oh, they're going to the Holy Mountain, was your quote on that.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy said the only way to get rid of him is, like, to dismember him.
Yeah.
So I guess that checks.
Yeah, so there just happens to be a
giant guillotine there.
Guillotine in his fucking lair.
And then there's also that giant, like, nail bed press thing.
Yeah.
Where, like, the fucking boyfriend character is, like, manually fucking cranking it down.
It's all slow.
Yeah. But it kills him, you know. But, you know, that's, you know, the Elm Street elements. There's a couple of other things I want to mention. I think there's actually more fight scenes, like physical fight scenes, not with, you know, the Freddy character, but between characters. Like, there's some fucking, like, you know, street fighting going on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at least 3 different scenes where people were just fucking beating ass. And then, Puma Man, best character in the movie,
mm-hmm.
he has nunchucks in one of these fights. I mean, he's not really fucking using them to full effect, but, like, dude, he's got nunchucks.
I think if you're waving them around, you know, you've used them to their full effect.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot. I mean, you know, you go bonk somebody with them, but like he waved them around a little bit.
Now, he kind of did. The other thing I want to talk about is, you know, our other favorite character, who's, I guess, the guy that owns the hotel with the Hitler mustache.
Dude, he had a sick, parted in the middle bowl cut and a Hitler mustache, and was just
insane,
enthusiastic.
Yeah, and he was also peeping Tom.
Yeah, which dude, he was sick as hell.
That's one thing that but you know what he's peeping on is like a girl painting her like toenails or whatever, which is probably as edgy as you can get in a Bollywood movie.
Okay,
I think like religious wise, they don't have anything like sexual or like you don't even see anyone really kiss on the lips or anything. Mm-hmm. So. Towing around, but
although there's a lot of implied rape.
Yeah,
actually,
there is quite a bit in this movie. Like every time,
like or I don't know.
It's not rape. It's more like sexual assault.
Well, I mean, it's like
attempted rape.
I mean, it's like there are multiple scenes where there are like 4 or 5 guys that are like, holy shit, there's a pretty girl over there.
Yeah.
And then they just like
Run.
follow her and chase her down and knock her on the ground and hold her down. I mean, so it's not, it's maybe implied. I don't know, but that does occur more than once in this film. So
yeah, there's 2 times. There's earlier when like there's like the group of bad kids or whatever. They do it to like the Nancy character, and it's like, yeah, it's quite racy.
Yeah,
and like that leads in one of the fight scenes, and then like there's another one where it's just some random dudes, like the one dude that has like the fucking devil lock that looks like bootleg Jerry Only or something like that, and where he's like, I'm the goon of the city or some shit.
I'm the goon of the city.
Like,
hell yeah.
Where they introduce like that other character who calls himself Grandpa, who like this is his only scene in this movie.
Yeah.
Like this old dude that has like a fucking rope around his arms and like grabs a chain or whatever, and then
he had a whole thing going on.
Yeah, like who was that character? He just popped up.
He was extra.
He was extra. He came in that scene. He beat those fucking would-be rapist ass, and then just dipped out.
For sure.
That was his bit of the movie. Crazy stuff. We already
who could defeat these rapists? Grandpa. Yeah. And here goes.
my favorite thing during that fight scene is like he's pulling, like he doesn't have the chain. He has a giant rope. But he reaches underneath the tablecloth and pulls out a fucking chain out of nowhere and starts like hitting people with it.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Dude, I mean, that guy's great. And we should mention the dude with the Hitler mustache does show back up later, sans the mustache.
That's true. Did he still have the part in the middle bowl cut? He still had some kind of weird ass hair.
He had a weird hair. I don't think it was exactly the same. Like I think he was trying to be.
He had a new look.
I don't know if he was a different character or what the deal was.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Wasn't really clear.
I think he's actually fashionable, and he changes when the fashion changes, and the Hitler mustache was out this season.
Oh man, one thing that's also common with Bollywood movies, they usually have long flashback sequences. I've seen Bollywood movies that will have a flashback sequence and then have a flashback sequence within that flashback, and you forget what movie you're watching until it flashes all the way back to where you were.
Mm-hmm.
And like sometimes that's like a half hour or 40 minutes of your time. Like what?
It's like when Hatebreed puts a breakdown inside a breakdown.
Yeah, it's that kind of Inception level. This one, just within. For like this movie, at least this flashback was motivated because it was the dad explaining like that whole backstory, how like the Freddy dude killed, his other daughter and like he took revenge and all that kind of stuff. And it wasn't too long. It was actually the right amount for a flashback. But like, a lot of Bollywood movies will have flashbacks that will just take you to a whole other level, and then you just forget what movie you're in, and then you're back, and then they drop a musical number, and you still forget what movie you're in. But like being coherent, like we're talking about things that just don't make sense as we're talking back and forth, but like coherent, like plot line, it just kind of follows along.
Yeah. Yeah. They trust you've seen the original.
Yeah. That's it.
And they kind of show it to you again.
Yeah.
With a little less information.
Yeah. It gets there.
It's cool.
So,
By the way, we didn't mention that our new Freddy, right? We keep calling him Freddy at this point. So new Freddy has a bit of a mullet. He did not lose his hair during the Great Fire.
Yeah, but no one explains where the Great Fire was.
And he's like Freddy. This guy's just like way more like burnt up, whereas Freddy is like, it's kind of like a few layers came off or something.
Yeah.
And he's like a little crispy, but like this guy
got singed in hell. If he was a demon and he came out, I guess that might explain.
Somehow his mullet survived the.
Look, man, a good hairstyle.
It's sick.
Will
I love it.
Survive anything.
Yeah.
Like he does have a sick mullet. Good on him.
But again, they're all very fashionable in this film.
Yeah, I mean that's true. I mean, don't panic. Like the Virgil dude had a fucking pretty much a mullet. They had basically the same hairstyle, really.
Yeah. Not just because you're a fake Freddy doesn't mean you have to dress like a fucking school janitor.
No, exactly. There's no fucking striped sweaters and like fucking corduroy pants or whatever Freddy wears.
Dumb hat.
Yeah, dumb hat covering up your like fucking not cool mullet that you should have.
Yeah.
I know Nightmare on Elm Street's a classic, but just imagine Freddy Krueger with a mullet.
Hell yeah, dude. Or any just like I don't know,
a rat tail.
Well, I mean, yeah. A little flock of seagulls. Devil lock. There's lots of different Freddys you can come up with.
I mean, if I know eventually they're gonna remake Freddy Krueger or a Nightmare on Elm Street at some point.
I mean, they just fucking did.
Yeah, but that was like 10 years ago, if not more now.
Yeah.
Eventually, they're gonna do it again.
I haven't forgotten.
Yeah, I've actually never seen it. I saw like maybe 3 seconds of it on HBO, and I was like, nope.
I watched the whole damn thing. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking. Like, there's a finite time in the universe, and I chose to spend a whole 90 minutes watching that stupid fucking movie.
Well, yeah. Well, we just spent 2.5 hours watching.
That's true.
This.
No, this was enjoyable, especially by comparison.
Yeah, and just like talking back, it's like we definitely did enjoy it. I just think at like times where like, because this is something we're watching for the podcast, it's like, and plus we've put it off for like as long as we have. It's just like, maybe not in the mood. We'll just get through it. So our mindset might have been there, but like it's a fun movie. Yeah. And especially if you want to take something adventurous and like, see how Bollywood handles horror. And, besides this disc, pick up that Mondo Macabro box set. So, I don't know. Final parts on Malacca.
Fun ass time. Fucking, I recommend it. Again, I'll just rating this solely on pajamas. I think that this one wins. Yeah. So there you go. I think that this one is the winner, if you will, the victor. The
victor of these two, just based on. I mean,
if these are verses, I think I like Don't Panic a lot, and I think it's fun, and there's something like there's just something like very nostalgic about it, even if you haven't seen it before, at least to maybe someone my age. But I like this one more. It's just fucking, it's sick. Again, it's the pajamas.
Yeah. So it's pajama game.
The fucking dinosaur pajamas ruined that film for me.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with you. That the fucking dad's robe is fucking sick as shit.
Yeah, exactly.
But before we wrap up here,
comfort.
Yeah, comfort is very important in horror movies.
Those fucking stupid dinosaur pajamas are probably so fucking hot to run around in.
Yeah, I don't know. Before we end this discussion on Freddy knockoffs, I just want to quickly mention too, one of these we talked about watching, and we kind of, as this episode has already ran way longer than either of us were expecting, we kind of cut them for time, but I just want to mention them. First one's Dreamstalker, which if you've never seen, our friends at Sever and Intervision put this out on DVD. It's a shot on video, Nightmare on Elm Street ripoff, but it's Freddy Krueger on a dirt bike. I actually screened this, I think year 2 of Cinematic Void, and I had the guy that played the Freddy Krueger in that movie show up. And like the only thing he talked about is like, man, I was so embarrassed. We shot this hot tub scene, and then they used every second of it in the movie and just kept dropping it in over and over again. Like he was just less about like, the quality of the movie, just more about like he felt exploited by that hot tub scene.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one, which is probably the most famous Nightmare on Elm Street ripoff, so much so it got blasted when it came out, but I think it's got a pretty good cult following now. It's called Bad Dreams. It's got Jennifer Rubin in it, who was in Elm Street 3. She's like the punk girl. She's like the lead in this one, and also has Richard Lynch, which I find this interesting. So it deals with a cult figure that, like a leader of actual cult, played by Richard Lynch, who gets burned up. In real life, Richard Lynch in the 60s was on drugs, I think it was LSD, set himself on fire in like Central Park in New York and burned 70% of his body. Yeah. That's the most interesting tidbit of that movie. It's like a dude that like fucking torched himself, and then years later went to play a dude that torched himself in a horror movie.
Like Richard Pryor.
Yeah, it's true. I don't think Richard Pryor played in an Elm Street movie though.
No, but he was JoJo Dancer. And that's like, didn't he like fucking burn himself in the? I mean, it's a movie about his life.
Yeah.
So as we're ending here, I did have one question for you.
Yes.
And that is, have you ever known a single person in your life named Freddy?
My cousin.
I actually also have a cousin, Freddy. That's fucking awesome. Right on.
There we go.
It fucking dap me up for the fucking Freddy cousin. Hell yeah.
So
but the only Freddy I've ever met in my life was my cousin Freddy.
Yeah, I think so too. Like I have uncle. Like seriously.
That's fucking so sick, dude.
Like that's all I could think of.
Cousin Freddy, bro.
It's a cousin. I have an Uncle Fred, but a cousin Freddy.
Oh, same. Same.
There we go. So if you got a cousin Freddy, hit us up on the socials. We're going to take one last break here, but when we come back, it's going to be Read, Watch, and Listen here on the Cinematic Void podcast.
Once again, foolish friends, Freddy Krueger is on your phone. Dial this number now. I've got some tales to tell. Freddy's favorite bedtime stories. Dead time stories. All brand new, straight from my boiler room to your home. It's Freddy Krueger on your phone. So dial this number now if you dare. Tell him Freddy sent you.
$2 the first minute, 45 cents each additional minute. Children, get your parents' permission before you dial.
Are you tired of having the same old backyard birthday party for your child every year? Do you want something new to entertain the kids? Well, have we got a place for you? Welcome to Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria, a magical place for kids and grown-ups alike where fantasy and fun come to life. Come along and jam out with Freddy Fazbear's Band, featuring Bonnie the Bunny and Chica the Chicken, or sail the high seas on an expedition for treasure with Foxy the Pirate. And, if you're lucky enough, the band will even ask Foxy to join them. Just cheer along with the band. While you're enjoying the band, enjoy our signature and tasty pepperoni pizza with fresh dough and all-natural ingredients. Of course, we serve other foods, such as our French fries, chicken nuggets, and a large, refreshing soda. Also, for your kids' birthday party, they can visit the prize corner and receive a free prize as a gift from Fazbear Entertainment. To make a reservation at Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria, call 1-800-FAZBEAR today, and we will be glad to let your kids have lots of fun during their happiest day of the year. That's 1-800-FAZBEAR. Call today.
Welcome back. It is now time for on the Cinematic Void podcast, where we talk about all the things we've been reading, watching, and or listening to since the last time we recorded a podcast. All right, Nick, why don't you tell us what you've been reading, watching, and or listening to?
All right, I've been reading a graphic novel called Paying For It by Chester Brown, which is about a man who decides to start paying prostitutes for sex. And the struggles that come along with that sort of thing, and how he justifies it like to his friends and is just like very open about it. And it's interesting. I'm about 100 pages in, and I'm really enjoying it. And then for watch, I'm gonna do it in the order that it's of what it's called. For watch, I just watched Alan Clark's Elephant, which is just a mass shooting movie. Really, it's just
that's all it is.
It's just people getting shot, and really there's like 4.5 words of dialogue.
There actually, I don't think there's any dialogue. I mean, there's no meaningful dialogue.
Yeah, there's definitely no meaningful dialogue.
Like
there's maybe a few words said.
I mean, it's based on what was going on in Ireland at the time.
Right. The Troubles.
Yeah.
Went on for 30 years.
Yeah. And then it's condensed to a 30-minute, like, BBC, like, kind of short. Alan Clark made some mean fucking movies. Mm-hmm. And this was basically Gus Van Sant's.
The inspiration for Elephant.
Besides Columbine.
Right,
but like,
for sure. So just watched that, and then I just watched Joachim Trier's Louder Than Bombs from 2015. It was really good. I'm sure a lot of people saw the the worst person in the world, which is pretty cool. But Louder Than Bombs was great as well. And for listening, I've been listening to a lot of fucking Crass. I've been up in the punks a little bit. Little Crass for you. I've been listening to the new Heavenward song that came out yesterday called Choke. Maybe it came out Wednesday. The Heavenward LP is coming out in June, I think, and both songs that have dropped are fucking killer. Just killer, awesome, like shoegazy, heavy rock. I don't know. The new Heavy Sleeper EP called Chime. I think they're from New York. They're sick as hell. Just other heavy shoe. I guess I just only listen to heavy shoegaze stuff now. And Crass.
It's like the polar opposite.
Just a lot of Crass.
Minimalist punk.
Yeah.
Effects pedal heavy bands.
Yeah, man. I don't know. That's about it for me. Not terribly not terribly prolific with my listening, reading, or watching this week, but
this is what it is.
Here we are. We're very busy, man.
We are. Yeah. As for me, I don't have shit for reading. I don't know. It's not. I have books that I put on my little night table, whatever. And
I have books that I buy.
I haven't bought any books.
I do have books.
I have books. Do I fucking read them? Absolutely not. Watch wise, I just watched a giallo that was new to me called 5 Women for the Killer. It's pretty mid. It's about 10-20 minutes too long. There's some good stuff, but then it kind of plods and drags, and it's when you get to Argento, Martino, Fulci, Dallamano, all those, the top tier, this is nowhere near that tier. It's definitely below the middle of the pack. It's not the worst I've seen, but it's not nowhere near as good. But Vinegar Syndrome put it out. It's got a cool slipcover, so that has that going for it. Watched a couple of movies on virtual dating with my girlfriend. First of which was a movie called Alone with You. It's made during the pandemic. Fucking hated it. It's I know I'm being mean by saying that, but it's been a while since I watched a movie where my dislike grew as we were watching, and this was both of us as we were watching it. It kind of wants to be Mulholland Drive, but it doesn't have the setup or whatever. It's Mulholland Drive meets Repulsion in a way. Okay. Or I should say, for those of you who've seen Mulholland Drive, it's like the back half of Mulholland Drive once the twist happens kind of thing. Or Lost Highway or something like that. So I just did not like it. Just nothing about it. Another movie I watched was Peter Strickland's Flux Gourmet, which I did love. I love Peter Strickland stuff. He did Barbarian Sound Studio, In Fabric, things like that. This one's about it's about an art collective that makes music off of food. It's really fucking weird. It gets crazy. It's fucking incredible. I love Peter Strickland stuff.
Okay, that sounds real sick.
It's on Shudder for those of you. Actually, most of these I'm going to say are on Shudder, except for the one I'm going to talk about next, which is a movie called Case 39, which stars Renee Zellweger, Bradley Cooper, and I guess it came out in that peak of when Killer Kids, The Orphan, were popping, around that era. It started out pretty good. And then some really bad CGIs. There's this little girl that I guess was born a demon. Kind of going back to what we've been watching for this podcast.
Yeah.
Except this little girl can call people on the phone and whisper some horrible shit, and it makes them do horrible things or have horrible nightmares. There's a scene where Bradley Cooper, is afraid of wasps, and this little girl calls him pss, pss, pss. So then all of a sudden he's got wasp coming out of his ears. But CGI wasp. And there's a shot where he's got his shirt on, and on the back of his shirt is all these wasps, and it's such bad fucking CGI. And he takes the shirt and puts it in the shower. It's just, and then his character dies, whatever. The movie has moments where it's kind of good, and then it just kind of just is a mess. And the last thing we watched on one of our virtual date nights, we actually watched this last night, it's a movie called Shrew's Nest, which was absolutely incredible. This came out in 2000, maybe 14, so it's almost a decade old. And it's I'll say Repulsion again, but it's Repulsion meets Misery kind of thing. But there's darkly comic moments. There's some things that just made me flinch. Holy shit, I can't believe that happened. It's fucking really good. And it's another Shudder exclusive thing. So it was produced by Alex de Iglesias, who, did Day of the Beast and Perdita Durango and things like that. But, that one was good. So, Shudder. It's got some good things, got some not so good things. Kind of falling into the watch and listen, depending on where you stand on video podcasts, because I guess they're on podcasts. I've been watching things on YouTube, caught up with some episodes of Detours from the homie Derek Millen. Shout out to him. Been watching and listening to a lot of hip hop related podcasts. Obviously, Super Duty Tough Work, which I've talked about before. Still going. They did an episode on AI and how that affects basically because people are doing AI songs the fake Drake Weekend song, and then basically how that shit's gonna play out in the future. And also been various episodes of My Expert Opinion with Matt Hoffa, who's a battle rapper turned podcast. Just had Benny the Butcher on and Vlad from Vlad TV or stuff like that. And just a lot of hip-hop stuff. So, I mean, I could watch movie podcasts or listen to movie podcasts, but it's like I'm kind of interested in things I don't know about that I want to learn about. And the last thing was there's this guy, Trap Laura Ross, and you're kind of hit me to this, who's a YouTube documentarian, a lot of hip-hop stuff, a lot of gang culture stuff. He just did that documentary on, Vaughn.
Yeah.
Fuck, dude. King Vaughn, I should say. He was a Chicago rapper who got killed in, Atlanta. And, basically his thesis that Vaughn's a serial killer, or was a serial killer.
Right on.
And, but I've been checking out some of his other documentaries. And he's got, stuff really, I'd say really nicely researched, feuds be why do Drake and Kanye don't get along? And got probably the most in-depth on the Pusha T Drake feud. I didn't realize there was a fucking diss songs going way back. Direct disses to each other before, obviously, story 80 on or whatever. Listen, I'm just going to pick a couple things that I've been listening to the most. The Domo Genesis and Alchemist record, No Idols. Pretty sick. My favorite song probably is on there, and it's I forget what the song's called, but, it's got a Freddie Gibbs verse, which was, I think, from 2014 from what you were telling me. It's an older verse.
I feel like I read that real quick when it dropped, and then never actually looked it up again, and have been repeating it. So maybe it's not super old. It's just something I.
He calls himself Gangster Gibbs, which was maybe more Pinata and before because he's now doing the Big Rabbit shit. So I don't know how old the verse is, but there's also a Prodigy verse on there, which is clearly old because Prodigy's been dead for 4 or 5 years now.
Okay, then. Fuck, maybe I was correct.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's, we've talked offline about some of those Alchemist projects that he produces from people. And it depends on the rapper, and the Domo stuff is really good. There's maybe one song I don't really like, which is Me, My Bitch, which is him talking about how much he loves weed. That's the theme of the song. It's just I'm just not in that one. But the rest of the record's pretty good. It's got good features and stuff like that. Also been listening to that new Conway the Machine record, Won't He Do It? Which, I think the first half, not big on, but by the second half, it really picks up and it gets pretty solid towards the end. Oh, wow. It's got really good feature from Ransom. There's a song with Fabulous and Benny the Butcher. The back half's definitely stronger. There's some actually really interesting Derringer beats. There's a couple times I didn't realize they were Derringer beats. I thought there was someone else, and it's oh shit. He's
is the first half bad because it's too commercial or something? Is there, you know what I mean? Why would you backload a record? There's nothing to benefit from that.
Maybe it just my taste wise. It's the God Don't Make Mistakes, which was the Shady record. It kind of leans the stuff I don't like on there, which may be the stuff that's tinged with R&B and less
That's what I'm saying. Actually, stylistically, it's just it's not your style.
Yeah, it's
so it must have been done deliberately. Maybe it is a little more.
I think
commercial.
I think he's pushing himself to get bigger, and I don't fault him on that. It's just it was just some of the beats I just didn't connect with. There's a few Derringer beats that I didn't really connect with. I guess he's been really good at how he's been starting off his records with really strong songs, and it just feels like it kind of it started, but it didn't feel like it was a big push in. Whereas maybe if you move one or two songs that were in the back half up front and then had the other stuff more peppered in the middle, it might have felt different. But I definitely think the back half I think it's a good album. Cool. But it's just there's certain things just more taste wise that aren't for me. And the last thing I've been listening to a lot, which I don't know why I've just been in the mood, is Harvest Transitions. Harvest was a melodic hardcore band. I don't think they exist anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No. They did a reunion maybe at some point in the two that maybe it was more 2016 or something. There was a reunion that happened that was maybe kind of happened around the same time. There was a discography LP that came out. I feel like I remember hearing something like that. But
it's kind of hard for me to kind of guess only because so many bands have gotten back together at this point or just never broke up that I don't realize.
Yeah.
So,
but I love Harvest. I mean, they had riffs for sure. It's very metallic hardcore from the 90s.
Yeah.
It has some melody, but the singers never sing. I mean, he's just screaming. You know. I love them.
Yeah, it's I kind of wonder if that stuff's gonna come back, or we've already passed that phase and just moved on to like the new gaze stuff. I feel like there's
no. I mean, I think there's plenty of metallic hardcore that's back. That's like I think '90s throwback to me.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Maybe I just need to search more. So
yeah. I mean, there's hardcore is just. I think that 90s hardcore is like really what's back now. So yeah.
Yeah, and
I'll send you a mix.
Well, send me a mix. But anyway, that wraps up this very, I'd say, might be long episode of the Cinematic Void podcast. Tell us what your favorite Freddy Krueger knockoff is, or if you like both these movies, don't like these movies, or whatever else. So yeah, I'm glad we finally got this episode done.
Hell yeah.
After
it's sick.
6 or 7 or 8 fucking months, years, or whatever it's been. But until next time, see you in the void.
Ina's got a crush on the Wicked Witch of Springwood.
She is bad news at 6 and 11.
And tonight he may score.
This is gonna be the stuff dreams are made of.
But she already has a boyfriend. And he's the jealous type.
There are some girls you just shouldn't go to pieces over.
On the next Freddy's Nightmare.
Deadly, yeah, get ready. Here comes the style, wilder than